Good evening, and welcome to Bible Stories for Sleep. There is a rest that goes deeper than sleep, a peace that Scripture calls a gift. Tonight we enter that peace together through the wedding at Cana. Before we begin, if these stories are a blessing to you, subscribing means you will never miss your next night of rest. Now breathe slowly, let your body settle, and allow the story to begin. The air in Cana, thick with the scent of olive oil and roasting lamb, hummed with a joyous energy that seemed to shimmer in the golden light of the evening. The small Galilean village, usually a quiet collection of sun-baked stone homes nestled among rolling hills, had transformed into a vibrant tapestry of celebration, its narrow pathways now bustling with guests flowing towards the central courtyard where the wedding feast unfolded. The rhythmic pulse of a hand drum, perhaps a tympanum, mingled with the bright, reedy notes of a flute and the gentle strumming of a lyre, weaving a lively melody through the twilight. Laughter, bright and unrestrained, spilled from every doorway, a testament to the abundant hospitality that defined such an occasion, particularly in a community where weddings were considered the most significant social event, often lasting for days. Mary, her hands gracefully arranging a cascade of fresh jasmine into an already overflowing basket of figs and dates, moved with an almost imperceptible efficiency through the throng. Though her son, Jesus, was a guest, her deep connection to the bridal family meant she had, as was customary, assumed a quiet, yet pivotal, role in the preparations, her keen eyes missing no detail amidst the joyful chaos. She was a woman in her 40s, her face etched with the gentle wisdom of years, her gaze warm yet perpetually observant, always anticipating needs before they were voiced. A stray tendril of dark hair escaped her head covering, catching the glow of a nearby oil lamp, which cast long, dancing shadows across the ancient stone walls, making the familiar courtyard feel both grand and intimately welcoming. The sweet, earthy aroma of freshly baked bread, still warm from the communal oven, mingled with the richer, more savory notes of roasted meats and the delicate perfume of ripe fruits, creating a symphony of scents that promised a feast of memorable proportions. She paused for a moment by a cluster of women grinding grain, their movements fluid and practiced, their soft chatter a comforting counterpoint to the music. The air here was redolent with the wholesome scent of wheat, a foundational aroma of Galilean life. Mary smiled, her thoughts drifting to the young couple whose union they celebrated, a new beginning woven into the ancient rhythms of their people. Such occasions were not merely social gatherings, they were profound affirmations of life, of community, and of the divine provision that sustained them all. The wedding feast, a 7-day affair in Galilean tradition, symbolized abundance and lasting joy, a sacred covenant unfolding under the watchful eyes of family and friends. Her gaze then sought out her son, Jesus, who stood a little apart from the most boisterous revelers, his presence a quiet anchor in the swirling festivity. He was a young man, likely in his early 30s, his frame lean from years of carpentry and travel, yet his posture held an innate dignity that drew the eye. His simple tunic, woven from undyed wool, blended seamlessly with the humble attire of the villagers, yet there was an unmistakable aura about him, a stillness that set him apart. His eyes, the color of warm earth, held a profound depth, reflecting a wisdom that seemed to stretch far beyond his years, a quiet authority that needed no outward display. He observed the scene with a gentle, almost reflective, demeanor, a faint, knowing smile occasionally touching his lips as he watched the dancers or listened to the animated conversations. He had recently embarked upon his public ministry, a path that had already begun to draw curious and devoted followers, and his presence here, at this joyful, ordinary celebration, marked a subtle, yet significant, step in his unfolding purpose. Nearby, Nathanael, a man whose honesty was as unvarnished as the Galilean hills themselves, watched Jesus with an intensity born of recent, transformative encounters. Nathanael hailed from Cana itself, his roots deeply embedded in this very soil, and he had only recently, with a healthy dose of skepticism that had quickly dissolved into awe, recognized Jesus as the Son of God, the King of Israel. He had been sitting beneath a fig tree, lost in thought and prayer, when Philip had called him, proclaiming, "We have found him about whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus son of Joseph from Nazareth." Nathanael's initial retort, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" had been met not with rebuke, but with Jesus' profound declaration, "Here is truly an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." That moment, the realization that Jesus had seen into the very core of his being, had shattered his preconceptions and ignited a nascent faith, transforming his intellectual assent into a deeply personal conviction. Now, as the music swelled and the celebratory cries grew louder, Nathanael found himself still pondering the mystery of this man, Jesus. He had witnessed the quiet power in Jesus' words, the profound understanding that seemed to emanate from him, and a deep longing for further revelation stirred within his soul. He sought not just a teacher, but a confirmation, a sign that would solidify this newfound belief, anchoring it against any lingering doubt. The festive atmosphere, usually so all-consuming, felt different to Nathanael tonight, tinged with an unspoken anticipation, as if the very air held a secret, waiting to be unveiled. Mary, having completed her task with the jasmine, moved closer to Jesus, her expression thoughtful. She knew her son, not just as a mother knows her child, but as one who had witnessed the quiet unfolding of his extraordinary life. She understood the weight of his divine purpose, even as she cherished the human bond they shared. Her faith in him was unwavering, a deep wellspring of trust that had been nurtured through years of quiet observation and profound understanding. She saw the gentle compassion in his eyes as he watched the wedding guests, the genuine joy he shared in their happiness, and she knew that his heart was always attuned to the needs of others. The wedding, a central pillar of community life, was a delicate dance of hospitality and social grace. Every detail, from the quality of the wine to the abundance of the food, reflected upon the honor of both families. To fall short in any aspect was not merely an inconvenience, it was a profound social embarrassment, a stain on the reputation of the hosts that could linger for years. Mary, with her deep sense of responsibility, carried this awareness keenly. She had helped oversee countless such celebrations, understanding the intricate logistics and the subtle pressures that came with ensuring a seamless, joyful event. As the evening deepened, the golden glow of the lamps seemed to grow warmer, casting longer, more intimate shadows. The music, though still lively, had softened slightly, inviting more conversation and less boisterous dancing. The aroma of spices, perhaps oregano and mint from the roasted meats, now mingled with the sweeter notes of honey and figs, creating a rich tapestry of scents that spoke of warmth and contentment. Yet, beneath the surface of this contented revelry, a quiet concern began to stir within Mary. Her observant eye, trained by years of managing a household and assisting at such events, detected a subtle shift, a whispered exchange among the servants, a faint tension in the air. It was the kind of unspoken worry that only a seasoned hostess would notice, a tremor beneath the festive facade. Jesus, sensing his mother's approach, turned towards her, his gaze gentle and inquiring. He knew her well, understood the unspoken language of her expressions, the subtle shifts in her demeanor that betrayed her thoughts. He saw the faint line of concern between her brows, the slight tightening of her lips, and waited patiently for her to speak. He had only just begun to gather his disciples, to speak openly of the kingdom, and the weight of his calling, the immense journey that lay before him, was a constant, profound presence within him. His hour had not yet come, the time for his full public revelation, for the ultimate demonstration of his divine power, still felt distant, a future shrouded in the unfolding will of his Father. Mary leaned in, her voice a soft murmur amidst the lingering strains of music, her words carrying a quiet urgency. "They have no wine," she whispered, her eyes meeting his, a plea and an unspoken expectation residing within their depths. It was a simple statement, yet it carried the full weight of the social crisis it represented, the potential shame and embarrassment for the young couple and their families. Her faith in him, a quiet, profound certainty, led her to bring this immediate, human need before him, believing in his capacity to act, even when the path forward was unclear. She remembered countless small acts of kindness and wisdom from his youth, moments when his unique nature had shone through, and her trust in his ability to provide, to transform, was absolute. Jesus listened, his expression thoughtful, his gaze momentarily distant as he considered her words. He understood the implications, the social predicament, and the deep desire in his mother's heart to alleviate suffering and preserve dignity. Yet, his response, though gentle, carried a note of profound deliberation, a recognition of the larger divine timing that governed his actions. "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me?" he asked, his voice low, almost a question to himself as much as to her. "My hour has not yet come." It was not a refusal, but a gentle reminder of the sacred boundaries of his mission, a quiet acknowledgement that every act, every revelation of his glory, must align with the perfect will of his Father. The path of divine provision was not always immediately apparent, nor was it always dictated by human expectation, but rather by a deeper, more profound purpose. Nathanael, who had drifted closer, drawn by the subtle shift in their conversation, overheard their hushed words. He watched Jesus, his mind grappling with the implication of "my hour has not yet come." What did it mean, this mysterious timing? He had just declared Jesus the Son of God, the King of Israel, yet here he was, seemingly hesitant, speaking of an hour that had not arrived. A flicker of his old skepticism, quickly suppressed, tried to surface, but it was overshadowed by the memory of Jesus' piercing insight, the way he had seen Nathanael under the fig tree. He trusted that there was a deeper meaning, a hidden current beneath the surface of these ordinary interactions, and his heart yearned to understand. He sought not just a miracle, but a deeper understanding of the divine nature he had only just begun to glimpse. Mary, however, remained undeterred, her faith a quiet, unshakable force. She knew her son's heart, understood the compassion that lay beneath his profound pronouncements. Without another word to Jesus, she turned to the servants, her voice calm and clear, her instructions imbued with an unwavering certainty. "Do whatever he tells you," she commanded, her gaze sweeping across their faces, instilling in them a sense of purpose and obedience. Her words were not merely a mother's suggestion, but an intercessor's quiet conviction, a bridge between human need and divine power. She had placed the matter in his hands, trusting fully in the abundance that she knew he could bring forth, believing that the sacred could indeed manifest in the most ordinary of circumstances. The servants, accustomed to the quiet authority of Mary, nodded, their faces reflecting a mixture of confusion and dutiful compliance. They glanced towards Jesus, then back at Mary, sensing the weight of her words, even if they did not fully grasp their meaning. The festive sounds of the wedding continued, a gentle backdrop to this quiet, pivotal exchange, as the warm, golden light of Cana's evening deepened, holding within its glow the whispers of expectation, the faint stirrings of transformation, and the subtle promise of glory about to be revealed. The air in Cana, thick with the sweet perfume of jasmine and the savory scent of roasting lamb, hummed with a joyous energy that seemed to vibrate through the very stones of the village. The multi-day wedding celebration was in full, glorious swing, a tapestry woven from laughter, music, and the clinking of earthenware cups. Oil lamps, suspended from every archway and nestled in every niche, cast a warm, flickering glow, painting the narrow streets and bustling courtyards in shades of honey and amber, chasing away the encroaching twilight. The rhythmic pulse of a hand drum, accompanied by the bright trill of a flute and the plucked melodies of a lyre, drifted from the main courtyard, inviting everyone to join in the uninhibited revelry. Children, their faces smeared with sweet dates and sticky honey cakes, darted through the legs of adults, their gleeful shouts adding to the symphony of celebration, while women, their hair adorned with fresh flowers, swayed gently to the music, their voices rising in melodic, ancient songs of blessing and hope. Inside the bustling heart of the celebration, where the main feast was laid out, the atmosphere was a little more contained, yet no less vibrant. Long, low tables groaned under the weight of an abundant spread, baskets overflowing with figs and pomegranates, platters piled high with freshly baked bread, and earthenware bowls brimming with olives and seasoned vegetables. The rich aroma of spiced wine mingled with the earthy scent of the clay vessels and the subtle fragrance of the linen cloths that covered the tables, creating a sensory embrace that promised comfort and joy. Guests, dressed in their finest tunics and cloaks, moved with an easy familiarity, their conversations a gentle murmur that occasionally swelled into boisterous exclamations of delight. The very air seemed to shimmer with the collective goodwill and happiness of a community united in celebrating a new beginning. Mary, ever the gracious co-hostess, moved through the crowd with an effortless grace, her eyes missing nothing. She smiled warmly at a distant cousin, offered a gentle word of encouragement to a young server, and exchanged a knowing glance with an older aunt, her presence a calming anchor amidst the joyous chaos. Her heart swelled with a quiet satisfaction, seeing the happiness radiate from the young bride and groom, whose faces shone with an almost ethereal glow as they received the blessings and well wishes of their loved ones. She had poured her energy and care into ensuring every detail was perfect, every guest felt welcomed, and every moment contributed to the sacred joy of this union. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, a tiny flicker of concern had begun to stir, a subtle unease that whispered of an impending challenge, a potential shadow that could mar the perfect celebration. Her keen eye had noticed the servants moving with a slightly increased urgency, their glances towards the wine stores a fraction too frequent, a fraction too worried. Jesus, observing the scene from a slightly quieter corner of the courtyard, felt the warmth of the communal joy wash over him. He watched the faces of the guests, noting the easy camaraderie, the unburdened laughter, and the simple, profound happiness that permeated the gathering. His gaze lingered on the bride and groom, their youthful hope a beacon in the festive light. He saw the love in their eyes, the promise of a shared future, and a deep sense of peace settled within him, witnessing the beauty of human connection and the sacredness of covenant. His own disciples, a small group who had recently begun to follow him, were scattered among the guests, some engaging in quiet conversation, others simply absorbing the vibrant spectacle. Nathanael, a man from Cana itself, stood a little apart, his brow furrowed in thought, his gaze fixed on Jesus with a mixture of awe and nascent understanding. He had only recently declared Jesus to be the Son of God, the King of Israel, and every moment in his new master's presence felt like a revelation, a deepening of the truth he had so recently embraced. The festive sounds, the rich aromas, the soft glow of the lamps, to all these sensory details wove themselves into the fabric of the evening, creating a backdrop against which the quiet unfolding of divine purpose would soon begin. Suddenly, a subtle shift in the atmosphere, almost imperceptible to most, caught Mary's attention. The rhythmic clinking of cups seemed to lessen, the boisterous laughter softened, and a faint, almost anxious murmur began to ripple through the servants. Her heart tightened, confirming her earlier apprehension. She saw the head steward, a man whose face usually bore an expression of confident authority, now wore a subtle frown, his eyes darting towards the wine amphory with a growing sense of alarm. The unthinkable was happening, a social catastrophe unfolding quietly beneath the festive veneer. The wine, the very symbol of joy and abundance at a Galilean wedding, was running out. The thought sent a cold shiver down her spine, imagining the shame, the embarrassment, the indelible stain on the reputation of the young bridegroom and his family. Such a scarcity would be remembered for years, a bitter taste in the memory of what should have been a purely joyful occasion. Without a moment's hesitation, Mary turned and made her way through the throng, her movements purposeful yet unhurried. Her gaze sought out Jesus, finding him still in his quiet corner, his eyes still observing the scene with a serene wisdom. She approached him, her expression a careful blend of urgency and unwavering faith. "They have no more wine," she murmured, her voice low and steady, yet imbued with a quiet plea. It was not a question, nor a complaint, but a statement of fact, delivered with the implicit understanding that he, her son, possessed the power to rectify this dire situation. Her eyes, filled with a mother's concern and a believer's trust, met his, conveying a depth of expectation that transcended mere words. She knew, with uncertainty that settled deep in her soul, that he could do something, even if the how remained a mystery. Jesus, hearing his mother's words, turned his gaze fully upon her. A gentle sigh escaped his lips, a subtle acknowledgement of the moment, the crossroads at which they stood. "Woman, why do you involve me?" he responded, his voice soft, yet carrying a profound weight. "My hour has not yet come." His words were not a rebuke, but a statement of divine timing, a recognition that his public ministry, the full revelation of his glory, was meant to unfold according to a celestial schedule, not at the whim of human circumstance. He understood the gravity of the situation, the social disgrace that loomed, but he also understood the deeper implications of what his mother was asking, the profound shift it would initiate in his earthly journey. The path he was to walk, the signs he was to perform, were part of a larger, sacred narrative, and he felt the immense responsibility of adhering to that divine plan. Mary, however, was not deterred. Her faith in her son was absolute, a deep wellspring that had sustained her through years of quiet observation and profound understanding. She knew the power that resided within him, the compassion that guided his heart. She did not argue, did not plead further. Instead, she simply turned to the servants who stood nearby, their faces still etched with a mixture of confusion and dutiful compliance. Her voice, though still gentle, carried an undeniable authority, a quiet conviction that brooked no argument. "Do whatever he tells you," she instructed them, her gaze sweeping over their faces, imbuing her words with a weight that transcended their simple meaning. She sensed the weight of her words, even if they did not fully grasp their meaning. They glanced towards Jesus, then back at Mary, sensing the weight of her words, even if they did not fully grasp their meaning. The festive sounds of the wedding continued, a gentle backdrop to this quiet, pivotal exchange, as the warm, golden light of Cana's evening deepened, holding within its glow the whispers of expectation, the faint stirrings of transformation, and the subtle promise of glory about to be revealed. The servants, accustomed to following Mary's directives, nodded, their expressions a blend of respectful obedience and bewildered curiosity. They understood the urgency in her tone, the unspoken crisis that hung in the air, and they trusted her judgment implicitly. Their eyes, though, kept returning to Jesus, a young man they knew as Mary's son, a carpenter from Nazareth, now suddenly imbued with an unexpected significance. They wondered what he could possibly do, how he could conjure wine from thin air, but they dared not question. Their duty was clear, to obey. Just then, the young bridegroom, his face flushed with happiness and the warmth of the celebration, made his way through the crowd, his arm around his radiant bride. He was oblivious to the quiet drama unfolding, the subtle tension that had begun to creep into the edges of the feast. His laughter was hearty, his eyes bright with joy, completely unaware of the impending social disaster that threatened to cast a pall over his most important day. He paused to greet an elderly uncle, then leaned in to whisper something to his bride, eliciting a soft blush and a shy smile. He felt a profound sense of contentment, his heart overflowing with gratitude for the perfect beginning to his married life. He had planned this wedding meticulously, wanting it to be a memorable testament to his hospitality and his love for his new wife, and so far, everything had unfolded beautifully, a dream come true. The bride, her traditional white gown shimmering softly in the lamplight, moved beside him, her gaze sweeping over the joyful faces of their guests. She felt a lightness in her spirit, a profound sense of peace and happiness. The music, the laughter, the delicious aromas all contributed to the magical atmosphere of her wedding day. She had dreamed of this moment for so long, and it was even more wonderful than she had imagined. The thought of anything disrupting this perfect harmony was utterly alien to her, her mind filled only with the promise of a beautiful future and the warmth of her husband's hand in hers. She was aware of the general bustle of the servants, but interpreted it as the natural flow of a busy feast, not a sign of any impending trouble. Nathanael, still observing Jesus from his vantage point, watched the subtle exchange between Jesus and his mother with a keen interest. He had only recently encountered Jesus, his initial skepticism about anything good coming from Nazareth quickly dissolving into profound awe when Jesus had revealed a knowledge of him that defied explanation. "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you," Jesus had said, words that had pierced Nathanael's heart and led him to declare, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel." Now, he saw a different side of this extraordinary man, a quiet deference to his mother, yet an underlying sense of purpose that seemed to emanate from his very being. He wondered what Mary's words meant, what Jesus' response implied, and a sense of anticipation began to stir within him. He had chosen to follow Jesus, to learn from him, and he felt that he was on the cusp of witnessing something truly remarkable, something that would further solidify the nascent faith that had taken root in his soul. He yearned for more signs, more revelations, to confirm the truth he had so recently embraced. As the evening deepened, the festive sounds, though still present, began to take on a slightly subdued quality, a subtle shift that only the most observant would notice. The head steward, his face now openly etched with worry, began to move with a frantic energy, whispering urgently to his assistants. He knew the traditional expectations, the social customs that governed such celebrations, and the shame that would befall the bridegroom's family if the wine ran dry. He racked his brain for a solution, a hidden amphora, a forgotten cask, but his efforts were fruitless. The supply was truly exhausted. His heart pounded with a growing sense of dread, imagining the whispers, the knowing glances, the indelible stain on the family's reputation. He felt the weight of his responsibility pressing down on him, the failure of his meticulous planning, and a cold sweat broke out on his brow despite the warmth of the evening. Mary, ever vigilant, saw the steward's distress, confirming her worst fears. Her gaze returned to Jesus, a silent communication passing between them. She knew that the time was now, that her son, in his boundless compassion, would not allow this joy to be marred by such a preventable disaster. She had seen his tender heart, his profound empathy, and she trusted that he would respond. The air around them seemed to thicken with unspoken expectation, a quiet hum beneath the boisterous celebration. The flickering lamplight danced across their faces, illuminating a shared understanding, a silent agreement that transcended the immediate crisis. The servants, having received Mary's instruction, now looked expectantly at Jesus, waiting for his command. They stood ready, their hands clasped, their eyes wide with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. They were prepared to perform any task, no matter how unusual, if it meant averting the impending shame. The festive sounds of the wedding continued, a gentle backdrop to this quiet, pivotal exchange, as the warm, golden light of Cana's evening deepened, holding within its glow the whispers of expectation, the faint stirrings of transformation, and the subtle promise of glory about to be revealed. The stage was set, the characters in place, and the unseen hand of Providence was gently guiding the unfolding narrative towards a moment that would forever change the course of their lives and the understanding of the world. The celebration, vibrant and full of life, was about to become the setting for a quiet miracle, a gentle unveiling of divine power that would transform not only water into wine, but also the hearts and minds of those who witnessed it. The celebration, vibrant and full of life, was about to become the setting for a quiet miracle, a gentle unveiling of divine power that would transform not only water into wine, but also the hearts and minds of those who witnessed it. As the sun dipped below the Galilean hills, painting the western sky in hues of fiery orange and soft violet, the wedding feast in Cana reached a crescendo of joyous sound and fragrant warmth. Oil lamps, carefully placed on every available surface, cast a golden, dancing light across the courtyard, illuminating the faces of the guests, flushed with laughter and good cheer. The air, thick with the sweet, earthy aroma of freshly baked bread, roasted lamb, and ripe figs, mingled with the subtle, floral scent of the women's perfumes and the dry, woody notes of the wine. A small ensemble of musicians, positioned beneath a canopy woven with fragrant olive branches, played a lively tune on their flutes and lyres, their melodies intertwining with the rhythmic beat of a hand drum, inviting spontaneous bursts of singing and clapping from the revelers. Children, their faces smeared with honey and crumbs, chased each other through the legs of the adults, their high-pitched giggles adding to the symphony of the evening. Mary, ever the vigilant and gracious hostess, moved through the throng with an almost imperceptible grace, her eyes, accustomed to the nuances of such gatherings, scanning the scene with quiet intensity. Her dark, woven tunic, though simple, was impeccably clean, and a finely embroidered head covering framed her mature features, softened by the flickering light. She paused occasionally to offer a warm smile to a distant cousin, to gently guide a young servant carrying a heavy platter of dates, or to exchange a few quiet words with the mother of the bride, whose face glowed with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. Mary found a deep satisfaction in ensuring the comfort and happiness of her guests, a trait born of years managing her own household and extending hospitality to countless travelers. She knew the delicate balance required to keep such a large celebration flowing smoothly, and her presence was a quiet anchor in the joyful chaos. Her gaze, however, often drifted towards the large, earthenware jars positioned near the entrance of the main feasting area. They stood like silent sentinels, their rounded bellies holding the precious wine that fueled the merriment. Earlier in the day, she had noticed the servants refilling them with a little more frequency than usual, a tiny, almost imperceptible tremor of concern stirring within her. Now, as the evening deepened and the feasting showed no signs of abating, that tremor began to grow into a more distinct unease. She watched as a young man, his brow furrowed with concentration, poured the last drops from a wineskin into one of the jars, then looked up, his eyes meeting hers across the crowded courtyard. He offered a small, apologetic shrug, a silent confirmation of her growing fear. The supply was dwindling, and rapidly so. A knot tightened in Mary's stomach. The thought of the wine running out, especially on the second or third day of a multi-day wedding feast, sent a shiver of dread through her. It was more than just an inconvenience, it was a profound social disgrace, a stain on the honor of the bridegroom's family, implying a lack of foresight, a failure of hospitality that would be whispered about for years. The young bridegroom, so full of eager joy just hours ago, would be mortified, his new marriage beginning under a cloud of embarrassment. Mary felt a surge of protective concern for the young couple, whose happiness she so earnestly desired. Her own reputation, too, as a close relative and an active participant in the hosting, would be subtly tarnished. She imagined the hushed conversations, the knowing glances, the lingering shame that would settle over the celebration like a shroud, extinguishing the vibrant glow of joy. She subtly changed her path, weaving through the clusters of animated guests, her movement still graceful, but with a new, quiet urgency. Her eyes continued to dart towards the wine jars, confirming her fears with each passing moment. The servants, usually so boisterous, now moved with a subdued, almost furtive air, their smiles fading as they realized the gravity of the situation. One young man, his face pale beneath the torchlight, whispered something to another, his gesture indicating the nearly empty vessels. Mary's heart ached for the impending humiliation. She knew, with the certainty of experience, that the host family would soon realize the extent of their predicament, and their carefully constructed celebration would unravel. Her gaze then fell upon her son, Jesus, who sat with his disciples at a table slightly removed from the most boisterous revelers. He was engaged in a quiet conversation with Andrew, his voice a low murmur, his expression thoughtful. The golden lamplight highlighted the strong lines of his face, and his eyes, usually so intensely observant, seemed to hold a distant, knowing quality. Mary felt a familiar surge of maternal pride, mixed with a profound, almost inexplicable trust. She had watched him grow from a curious boy into a man of deep wisdom and quiet strength, a man whose presence always seemed to bring a sense of peace, a subtle shift in the very atmosphere around him. She had seen him heal minor ailments with a gentle touch, offer words of profound comfort to the distressed, and always act with a compassion that seemed to emanate from the very core of his being. A bold thought, born of desperation and an unshakable faith, began to form in her mind. It was a thought that bypassed conventional solutions, a quiet leap of conviction that transcended the immediate logistical crisis. She remembered the stories of old, of prophets and miracles, of divine intervention in moments of human need. And she looked at her son, not just as her beloved child, but as someone touched by a power she did not fully comprehend, yet implicitly trusted. If anyone could avert this disaster, she felt, it was he. With a renewed sense of purpose, Mary began to make her way towards Jesus, her steps deliberate and unhurried, yet imbued with a quiet determination. The festive sounds of the flutes and drums, the joyful clamor of voices, seemed to recede into a distant hum as her focus narrowed. She reached his table and waited patiently for a break in his conversation, her presence a gentle, unspoken request. Jesus looked up, his eyes meeting hers, and a flicker of understanding passed between them, a silent communication that had always existed between mother and son. He saw the subtle tension in her shoulders, the slight tightening around her mouth, the quiet urgency in her gaze. "They have no more wine," Mary said, her voice low and clear, barely audible above the surrounding revelry, yet carrying an unmistakable weight of concern. She did not elaborate, did not need to. The words hung in the air, a stark statement of the impending crisis. Her tone was not one of accusation or panic, but rather a simple, direct presentation of a problem, implicitly seeking a solution. It was a mother's plea, wrapped in a hostess's responsibility, and undergirded by a faith that had been nurtured over decades. Jesus listened, his gaze steady, his expression unreadable for a moment. He understood the gravity of the situation, the social implications, the shame that would fall upon the young couple. He saw the genuine distress in his mother's eyes, the depth of her concern for the well-being of others. Yet, a subtle tension also played across his features, a momentary hesitation. "Woman, what does that have to do with me?" he replied, his voice calm, almost detached, yet with an underlying layer of something deeper. "My hour has not yet come." His words, though gentle, carried a note of quiet resistance, a recognition of a divine timeline that was not to be rushed or dictated by human circumstance. He was aware of the immense significance of the path he was embarking upon, the profound implications of his public ministry, and the precise timing of each step. To begin his work with a miracle performed at a wedding feast, at his mother's prompting, seemed to deviate from the grand, preordained sweep of his mission. He knew that each sign he performed would reveal a piece of his true identity, drawing attention, inviting scrutiny, and ultimately leading him towards his ultimate purpose, his hour. Mary, however, did not flinch. She knew her son, knew the deep well of compassion that lay beneath his calm exterior. She understood his words, perhaps even the subtle resistance, but her faith transcended his momentary hesitation. Her request was not merely for wine, it was an act of profound trust, a quiet assertion of her belief in his unique capabilities, a mother's conviction that her son held the key to transforming a moment of impending shame into one of grace. She did not argue, did not plead further. Instead, her eyes, filled with an unwavering certainty, simply held his for a long moment, a silent affirmation of her conviction. Then, turning away from him with a quiet resolve, she walked directly to the servants who stood nearby, their faces still etched with worry. Her voice, though still low, carried an unmistakable authority, a quiet command that cut through the lingering anxiety. "Do whatever he tells you," she instructed them, her gaze sweeping across their anxious faces. Her words were simple, yet profound, a testament to her absolute faith. She offered no explanation, no context, no further instruction, simply a directive to obey, a clear path forward that bypassed all doubt and uncertainty. The servants, accustomed to the implicit authority of the host family, and sensing the quiet power in her demeanor, nodded in bewildered agreement, their eyes now shifting from Mary to Jesus, a nascent hope beginning to flicker in their weary expressions. Jesus watched his mother walk away, her back straight, her purpose clear. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. He understood. He saw the depth of her faith, the unwavering trust she placed in him, not just as her son, but as the one who could bridge the gap between human need and divine provision. He recognized the profound significance of her intercession, a gentle yet firm nudge towards the unfolding of his public ministry. The hour he spoke of was indeed approaching, and perhaps, in the quiet desperation of a wedding feast, in the simple act of turning water into wine, the first glimmer of that glory would begin to shine. The atmosphere of subtle tension, of impending social disaster, now hung poised, waiting for a quiet transformation. The stage was set, not for a grand pronouncement, but for a gentle, almost secret act of grace, a quiet miracle that would ripple outwards, transforming not only the celebration, but also the understanding of those who witnessed it. The air, thick with the scent of roasted lamb and sweet dates, had begun to shift, carrying with it a subtle tremor of unease that, though imperceptible to most, registered keenly with Mary. She moved with practiced grace through the bustling courtyard, her eyes, accustomed to the ebb and flow of such celebrations, scanning the faces, noting the subtle gestures, and listening to the hushed murmurs that now began to punctuate the otherwise joyful din. The initial exuberance of the feast, which had flowed as freely as the wine itself, seemed to be ebbing, replaced by a quiet, almost imperceptible anxiety that coiled around the edges of the gathering. She saw the hosts, their smiles a little too fixed, their movements a little too hurried as they conferred in low tones near the overflowing tables. The music, though still vibrant, seemed to play against a backdrop of growing concern, the joyous notes unable to entirely mask the quiet desperation that was beginning to unfurl. Mary, ever observant, had noticed the increasingly frequent, almost furtive glances directed towards the wine amphory, the way the servants, usually so effervescent, now moved with a certain stiffness, their usual easy laughter replaced by a strained silence. Her heart, attuned to the rhythms of hospitality and the unspoken needs of a household, instinctively recognized the signs of an impending crisis. The wine, the very lifeblood of such a celebration, was running low, perhaps already gone, and the thought sent a cold shiver through her, despite the warm Galilean evening. To run out of wine at a wedding feast was not merely an inconvenience, it was a profound social disgrace, a stain upon the honor of the host family that would linger long after the last guest had departed, a bitter memory that would overshadow the joy of the union. It was a failure of provision, a breach of the sacred trust of hospitality, and Mary felt the weight of it as if it were her own. Her gaze, calm and steady, sought out her son amidst the throng. Jesus sat quietly, a thoughtful expression on his face, observing the festivities with an intensity that belied his outward stillness. He was engaged in conversation with some of his new disciples, young men whose faces still held the fresh wonder of discovery, their eyes fixed on him with an eager reverence. He listened more than he spoke, his occasional words carrying a quiet authority that drew them in, even amidst the clamor of the celebration. Mary watched him, a familiar sense of pride and a deeper, more profound understanding stirring within her. She knew the power that resided within him, a power that had been hinted at, nurtured, and held in sacred trust for decades. She had seen the glimpses, felt the stirrings, but never before had she truly understood the full measure of what he was destined to accomplish. Now, in this moment of quiet crisis, a profound conviction settled in her heart, a certainty that transcended mere maternal affection. She believed, with an unwavering faith, that he held the solution, that he possessed the means to avert this looming disaster. She approached him with a quiet determination, her footsteps barely audible above the music and conversation. Her voice, when she spoke, was low, almost a whisper, yet it carried an undeniable urgency that cut through the surrounding noise. "They have no wine," she stated simply, her eyes meeting his, conveying not just information, but a plea, a profound trust. She did not elaborate, did not dramatize the impending shame. She knew he understood the gravity of the situation, the unspoken cultural imperative that bound them all. Her words were not a command, but an invitation, an appeal to his compassion, to the divine wellspring of his being. She saw the flicker of recognition in his eyes, the subtle shift in his posture as he absorbed her words, and she waited, her heart a mixture of hope and a quiet, ancient knowing. Jesus turned to her, his gaze gentle but firm, carrying a depth that seemed to encompass more than the present moment. "Woman, what does this have to do with me?" he responded, his voice calm, almost detached, yet tinged with a subtle undercurrent of something profound. My hour has not yet come." His words, though seemingly a gentle rebuke, were not born of indifference, but of a deeper understanding of timing, of divine purpose. He knew the path he was meant to walk, the sequence of events that would unfold, and the profound significance of each step. To act now, at his mother's prompting, would be to accelerate a timeline, to reveal a truth before its appointed moment. He wrestled, in that brief instant, with the human desire to alleviate suffering, to honor his mother's request, and the divine imperative to adhere to the Father's perfect timing. The weight of his destiny, the immense responsibility of his mission, settled upon him, a silent burden he carried with grace. He understood the social implications of the wine running out, the embarrassment, the discomfort, but his vision extended far beyond the immediate festivities, towards a much grander, more eternal purpose. Mary, however, was not deterred by his words. Her faith, forged in the crucible of extraordinary circumstances, was not easily shaken. She had carried the secret of his birth, witnessed his quiet wisdom, and observed the unfolding of his unique path for 30 years. She knew his heart, understood the compassion that resided within him, and sensed the deeper meaning behind his seemingly distant reply. She did not argue, did not plead further, for she knew that her son, though divine, was also profoundly human, and that his heart would respond to genuine need. Instead, she turned from him, her gaze sweeping over the bustling servants, her face a mask of serene confidence. Her next words, spoken not to Jesus directly, but to the servants who stood nearby, were imbued with an unwavering certainty that left no room for doubt. "Do whatever he tells you," she instructed them, her voice clear and resonant, a quiet command that carried the weight of absolute conviction. It was a statement of profound trust, a testament to her unshakable belief in his capacity, a belief that transcended the immediate hesitation he had expressed. She had laid the problem at his feet, offered her counsel, and now, with a mother's quiet authority, she had set the stage for his intervention, trusting implicitly that he would act, and that his actions would be nothing short of miraculous. The servants, accustomed to the rapid pace and unpredictable demands of a large wedding, looked from Mary to Jesus, a flicker of confusion in their eyes, but Mary's calm demeanor and the quiet authority in her voice brooked no argument. They simply nodded, a silent acknowledgement of her instruction, their faces reflecting a readiness to obey, even if they did not yet understand. They had witnessed the growing anxiety among the hosts, the furtive whispers, and the increasingly frantic search for more wine. They knew the impending disaster, and Mary's quiet confidence offered a strange, unexpected beacon of hope in the mounting tension. Jesus watched his mother, a faint, knowing smile touching the corners of his lips. Her faith, so steadfast, so unwavering, had always been a source of quiet strength, a gentle current guiding him even in his moments of deepest contemplation. He understood her intention, her desire not merely to save the hosts from embarrassment, but to reveal a deeper truth, to begin the unfolding of his glory. He recognized the profound wisdom in her simple instruction to the servants, a complete surrender to his will, an act of faith that would pave the way for the miraculous. The hour he had spoken of was not a rigid, unyielding moment, but a divine readiness, a confluence of need and purpose, and his mother's unwavering belief had brought that hour subtly, yet powerfully, forward. His gaze then swept across the courtyard, past the joyful dancers and the feasting guests, settling on 6 large stone jars that stood near the edge of the gathering, silent sentinels in the flickering lamplight. They were the kind of jars used for ritual purification, massive vessels each capable of holding 20 to 30 gallons, their rough, unadorned surfaces bearing the marks of countless washings. They were empty now, waiting for the water that would be poured into them for the cleansing rituals, a mundane purpose that seemed utterly disconnected from the vibrant celebration around them. Yet, in his mind's eye, he saw them transformed, not merely filled, but imbued with a new, miraculous essence. He turned to the servants, his voice now clear and resonant, cutting through the ambient noise with a quiet authority that commanded attention. "Fill the jars with water," he instructed, his gesture encompassing the 6 stone vessels. There was no explanation, no grand pronouncement, just a simple, direct command. The servants, remembering Mary's words, moved without hesitation, their movements swift and purposeful. They fetched buckets from the nearby well, the rhythmic creak of the rope and the splash of water echoing softly in the night as they began the laborious task. They worked diligently, their faces showing a mixture of curiosity and a quiet obedience, their minds perhaps wondering at the seemingly pointless task of filling purification jars during the height of a feast. What purpose could this serve? Yet, they continued, pouring bucket after bucket into the cavernous stone vessels, until the water reached the very brim, glistening under the warm glow of the oil lamps. The sheer volume of water was impressive, a testament to their diligence, and the sight of the 6 full jars, now brimming with clear, cold water, stood in stark contrast to the earlier anxiety about the lack of wine. Once the jars were full, Jesus issued his next instruction, his voice calm and steady. "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast." Again, there was no explanation, no hint of the miracle that was about to unfold. It was a simple command, a continuation of the seemingly ordinary tasks. The servants, their curiosity piqued, dipped their ladles into the first jar, drawing out a measure of the clear water. They looked at it, perhaps expecting nothing more than what it was to water. Yet, as they carried it towards the master of the feast, a subtle transformation had already begun, a quiet, almost imperceptible shift in its essence. The air around them seemed to hum with a nascent energy, a silent anticipation that only those truly attuned could perceive. The master of the feast, a man of considerable experience in such matters, was a figure of jovial authority, his face usually wreathed in smiles, his voice booming with good cheer. But tonight, a faint line of worry creased his brow as he oversaw the dwindling supplies and the growing concern among the guests. He had noticed the subtle shift in the atmosphere, the way the laughter had become a little less spontaneous, the conversations a little more subdued. He knew the shame that awaited the young couple if the wine ran out completely, and he was already mentally preparing for the difficult conversations that would inevitably follow. He accepted the cup from the servant, his expression one of mild surprise, perhaps wondering where this new supply had suddenly appeared from. He raised it to his lips, expecting the familiar taste of water, or perhaps a last, desperate dreg of inferior wine. But as the liquid touched his tongue, his eyes widened, and a look of profound astonishment spread across his face. It was not water. It was wine, and not just any wine, but wine of exceptional quality, rich and full-bodied, with a depth of flavor that spoke of careful cultivation and skilled craftsmanship. Its aroma, complex and inviting, filled his senses, and the taste lingered on his palate, a testament to its superior vintage. He savored the unexpected delight, a broad smile slowly replacing his earlier frown. This was truly remarkable, a wine far superior to anything they had been serving earlier in the celebration. He called out to the bridegroom, his voice now booming with genuine delight, the earlier worry completely forgotten. Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have drunk freely, he exclaimed, holding up the cup for emphasis, his eyes twinkling with amusement and admiration. "But you have kept the best until now." His words, filled with genuine praise, rippled through the nearby guests, drawing their attention. They too, curious, began to sample the newly provided wine, and a chorus of appreciative murmurs and exclamations of delight soon filled the air. The earlier tension dissipated like mist in the morning sun, replaced by a renewed sense of joy and wonder. The celebration, which had teetered on the brink of social disaster, was not only saved but elevated to an even greater height of unexpected pleasure. The servants, who had witnessed the entire sequence of events, from the filling of the jars with water to the master of the feast's astonished delight, exchanged knowing glances. They were the only ones, besides Mary and Jesus, who understood the true nature of what had just transpired. They had seen the water, drawn it themselves, and now tasted the wine. The quiet miracle, performed without fanfare or ostentation, had unfolded before their very eyes, a testament to a power they could scarcely comprehend. A profound sense of awe settled upon them, a silent understanding that they had been privy to something truly extraordinary, something that transcended the ordinary bounds of their world. Jesus' disciples, who had been observing the quiet exchange between Mary and her son, and then the subsequent actions of the servants, also began to grasp the profound significance of the moment. They had followed him, drawn by his teachings and his compelling presence, but they had not yet witnessed a public manifestation of his divine power. Now, as they tasted the exquisite wine and read the master of the feast's astonished praise, a deeper understanding began to dawn upon them. They saw not just a man, but a prophet, a teacher, and something more, something utterly unique and divine. Their faith, which had been nascent, a seed newly planted, now began to take root, solidifying into a profound and unwavering conviction. The quiet miracle, performed without a single word of explanation, had revealed a glimpse of his glory, a silent testament to his true identity, solidifying their belief and marking the true beginning of his public ministry, the first of his signs. The sacred had indeed touched the ordinary, transforming not only water into wine, but also doubt into certainty, and expectation into awe. The wedding feast, saved from embarrassment, had become a crucible of revelation, a quiet stage upon which the first act of a grander, more glorious drama had begun to unfold. The golden glow of the oil lamp seemed to shine a little brighter, the music a little sweeter, as the air filled with the renewed joy of a celebration touched by the divine. The golden glow of the oil lamp seemed to shine a little brighter, the music a little sweeter, as the air filled with the renewed joy of a celebration touched by the divine. Yet, amidst the resurgence of merriment, a quiet urgency still hummed beneath the surface for those few who knew the true nature of the recent scarcity. The servants, having just witnessed the impossible, moved with a newfound, almost reverent, efficiency, their steps lighter, their expressions a curious blend of wonder and quiet determination. They understood, perhaps more acutely than anyone else, the precarious edge upon which the celebration had teetered, and the profound grace that had pulled it back from the brink. Mary, her heart still thrumming with a mixture of relief and profound gratitude, watched her son from across the bustling courtyard. She saw the subtle shift in his demeanor, the way his gaze, though still calm, now held a deeper, almost luminous quality. He had stepped into his purpose, not with fanfare or declaration, but with a gentle, undeniable act of love and provision. A soft smile touched her lips, a silent acknowledgement of the path now unfolding before him, a path she had always known he would walk, though its precise contours had remained veiled until this very moment. The weight of years of quiet expectation seemed to lift from her shoulders, replaced by a buoyant, unwavering certainty. The wedding guests, oblivious to the divine intervention, continued their feasting and dancing, their laughter echoing through the warm night air. The new wine, rich and fragrant, flowed freely, its unexpected quality eliciting murmurs of delight and surprise from those who tasted it. "This is truly the best wine of the feast," one guest exclaimed, his voice hearty with pleasure as he raised his cup in a toast. "The host has saved the finest for last." Another nodded in agreement, his eyes wide with appreciation. "Indeed, a remarkable vintage. I have never tasted its like." The master of the feast, a man of considerable experience in such matters, found himself puzzled, yet undeniably pleased. He called to the bridegroom, a young man still flushed with the joy of his new union, and playfully chided him. "Everyone serves the good wine first," he declared with a good-natured chuckle, "and then the inferior wine when the guests have drunk freely. But you have kept the best until now." The bridegroom, caught between the unexpected praise and his own bewilderment, could only offer a shy, grateful smile. He knew nothing of the empty jars, nothing of his mother-in-law's quiet desperation, or the calm, deliberate actions of his new kinsman. He simply accepted the accolades, his heart swelling with pride that his wedding, despite a brief, worrisome moment, was proving to be a truly memorable celebration. He glanced at his new wife, whose eyes sparkled with happiness, and a profound sense of contentment settled over him. The evening, which had threatened to unravel, was now woven with threads of pure delight. Meanwhile, the disciples, who had been present for the quiet drama at the stone jars, remained in a state of hushed awe. Andrew, ever the practical one, found himself repeatedly running his hand over the rough, cold stone of one of the now empty water pots, as if to confirm its solid reality against the impossible transformation it had just witnessed. His mind replayed Jesus' simple command, the unhesitating obedience of the servants, and the subsequent, undeniable richness of the wine. A profound sense of wonder settled over him, a feeling that transcended mere intellectual understanding. He felt it deep in his bones, a tremor of recognition that he was in the presence of something truly extraordinary. Peter, usually boisterous and quick to speak, stood unusually quiet, his gaze fixed on Jesus. He had seen many things in his life as a fisherman, to the unpredictable fury of the sea, the miraculous bounty of a well-placed net, but nothing had prepared him for this. The calm authority in Jesus' voice, the simple gesture, the instantaneous result, it was a power unlike any he had ever conceived. A seed of unwavering faith, planted just days before when he had first answered the call to follow, now began to sprout within him, pushing through the soil of his skepticism and doubt. He felt a burgeoning sense of loyalty, a fierce devotion rising in his chest, and knowing that this man, this quiet carpenter from Nazareth, was indeed the one they had been waiting for. James and John, sons of Zebedee, stood shoulder to shoulder, their expressions mirroring a shared, unspoken understanding. They had witnessed the intimate moment between Jesus and his mother, the initial hesitation, and then the quiet, resolute decision. They had seen the water poured, and then tasted the wine, and the contrast between the ordinary and the miraculous was stark and undeniable. For John, in particular, a deep, almost mystical reverence began to take root. He felt a profound sense of privilege, an awareness that he was privy to the unveiling of something sacred, something that would forever alter the course of their lives and the world itself. He wanted to understand more, to delve deeper into the mystery that surrounded this man, his teacher. Mary, having observed the unfolding scene, slowly made her way towards her son. The crowd, thick with revelers, parted almost instinctively for her, a testament to her quiet dignity and the respect she commanded. When she reached Jesus, she did not speak, but simply met his gaze. In her eyes, he saw not only gratitude, but also a deep, abiding faith, a quiet affirmation of his divine purpose. He offered her a gentle, knowing smile, a silent communication that transcended words. The initial tension of her request, his gentle resistance, had dissolved into a shared understanding, a quiet triumph. The celebration continued, vibrant and joyous, but for those who had witnessed the miracle of the jars, the atmosphere had subtly shifted. The music, though still lively, now carried an undertone of profound significance. The laughter, though still hearty, seemed to echo with a deeper resonance. The very air felt charged with a quiet, sacred energy, an invisible current that flowed through the heart of the feast. It was as if a veil had been momentarily lifted, revealing a glimpse of the divine woven into the fabric of everyday life. As the night deepened, and the oil lamps cast longer shadows across the courtyard, Jesus remained a calm, observant presence amidst the revelry. He spoke little, but his eyes missed nothing. He saw the joy on the faces of the bride and groom, the contented expressions of the guests, the relieved smiles of the hosts. He understood the profound impact of this simple act of provision, not just on the immediate celebration, but on the hearts and minds of those who had witnessed it. This was not merely about wine, it was about the revelation of glory, the affirmation of faith, and the quiet, powerful beginning of a new era. The wedding at Cana, a seemingly ordinary village celebration, had become a crucible of transformation. The simple stone jars, once holding only water for purification, had become vessels of divine abundance. The quiet obedience of the servants had paved the way for an extraordinary manifestation of grace. And in the heart of it all, Jesus, the guest who had become the provider, had revealed a glimpse of his true nature, not with thunder and lightning, but with a gentle, generous act that spoke volumes to the receptive hearts. The first sign had been given, a quiet miracle whispered into existence, and the world, though largely unaware, had begun its slow, inevitable shift towards a new dawn. The memory of that night, of the water turned to wine, would linger in the minds of the disciples, a foundational stone upon which their understanding and their faith would be built, guiding them through the unfolding journey that lay ahead. The memory of that night, of the water turned to wine, would linger in the minds of the disciples, a foundational stone upon which their understanding and their faith would be built, guiding them through the unfolding journey that lay ahead. The wedding feast, though momentarily threatened by an unseen scarcity, continued its vibrant course, the air still thick with the sweet, earthy aroma of freshly baked bread, roasted meats, and ripe fruits that wafted from the bustling kitchens, mingling with the subtle perfume of myrtle and jasmine from the courtyard gardens. The rhythmic sounds of traditional Galilean music, the reedy call of a flute, the gentle strumming of a lyre, and the soft, insistent beat of a hand drum, wove through the joyful singing and laughter of the guests, creating a tapestry of sound that enveloped the celebration in a warm embrace. Oil lamps, their flames dancing in the evening breeze, cast a golden, flickering glow across the faces of the revelers, illuminating the joyful expressions of families and friends sharing in the union of two souls. The bridegroom, his face alight with a happiness that seemed to radiate from his very core, moved among his guests, his arm often around his new wife, their smiles reflecting the boundless hope and tender affection of a new beginning. He was, at that moment, blissfully unaware of the quiet crisis that had almost overshadowed his special day, or the even quieter intervention that had averted it, his focus entirely on the joyous present and the promise of a shared future. Jesus, however, remained a figure of serene contemplation amidst the festive throng, his gaze often drifting towards the 6 stone jars that now stood replenished, their surfaces still cool and damp from the water that had so recently filled them. A subtle, almost imperceptible shift had occurred within him, a deepening of resolve that settled behind his calm eyes. The gentle urging of his mother, spoken with such quiet conviction, had resonated deeply, touching a chord of divine purpose within him that had, until that moment, remained veiled. He had known, of course, the path that lay before him, the grand design woven into the fabric of his very being, yet the timing, the precise moment of revelation, had always seemed distant, shrouded in the mists of an unfolding future. But in that small, bustling village, amidst the joyful chaos of a wedding feast, the future had unexpectedly arrived, not with thunder and lightning, but with a simple request and a humble act of service. He felt the weight of his destiny settle upon him with a quiet certainty, a profound understanding that the hour he had once spoken of, the time for his public signs to begin, was now upon him, ushered in by the very human need for joy and celebration. His disciples, still reeling from the quiet wonder they had witnessed, watched him with a newfound reverence, their earlier skepticism having dissolved like morning mist under the rising sun. Simon Peter, ever the most impetuous, found himself speechless, his boisterous energy replaced by a profound awe. He remembered the simple command, the unhesitating obedience of the servants, and the astonishing result that had defied all logic and expectation. The water, plain and unremarkable, had not merely changed color or taste, it had become the finest wine, a transformation so complete and so instantaneous that it had left an indelible mark upon his soul. Andrew, ever the thoughtful observer, felt a tremor of understanding pass through him, a realization that this man, his brother's companion, was far more than a charismatic teacher. He was a conduit for something truly divine, a force that could reshape the very elements of the world. Philip, who had initially struggled with the concept of a Messiah who walked among them with such unassuming grace, now felt a surge of conviction, a burgeoning faith that began to take root deep within his heart. Nathanael, who had once questioned whether anything good could come out of Nazareth, now knew with an absolute certainty that he stood in the presence of someone truly extraordinary, someone whose power transcended all earthly understanding. The servants, those humble, diligent men who had simply followed instructions without question, moved through the feast with a quiet pride, their faces reflecting a mixture of astonishment and deep satisfaction. They had been the unwitting participants in a miracle, the first witnesses to a divine act, and though they dared not speak of it openly, the secret knowledge hummed within them, a warm, resonant vibration. They had drawn the water, heavy and clear, and poured it into the stone jars, their arms aching from the effort, their minds focused only on fulfilling the master of the feast's command. Then they had drawn from those same jars, not water, but a wine so rich and fragrant that its aroma alone spoke of unparalleled quality. The memory of the transformation, the sheer impossibility of it, played over and over in their minds, a silent testament to the power of the man who had simply said, "Fill the jars with water." They saw the guests' delighted reactions, heard the exclamations of pleasure, and knew, with a certainty that required no explanation, that they had been part of something truly sacred, a moment when the ordinary had been touched by the extraordinary. As the evening wore on, the master of the feast, a man of discerning palate and considerable social standing, approached the bridegroom, a broad smile gracing his lips. He held a cup of the newly produced wine, swirling its deep ruby liquid thoughtfully before taking another appreciative sip. "Every man serves the good wine first," he declared, his voice carrying just enough to be heard above the gentle murmur of conversation and music, "and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the best until now." The bridegroom, his face flushed with a combination of joy and a touch of bewilderment, could only offer a humble, grateful smile, completely unaware of the true source of this unexpected praise. He accepted the compliment with grace, attributing the excellence of the wine to the meticulous planning and generosity of his family, his heart swelling with pride at the success of his wedding celebration. He had wanted his wedding to be a joyous and memorable occasion, a testament to his hospitality, and now, through a providence he could not comprehend, it was exceeding all expectations, cementing his reputation as a gracious and generous host. The guests, their senses sharpened by the exquisite taste of the new wine, nodded in agreement, their murmurs of approval weaving through the festive atmosphere. They savored the complex notes of fruit and earth, the smooth finish that lingered pleasantly on the tongue, a wine unlike any they had tasted before, certainly not one expected at the later stages of a multi-day feast. The unexpected quality of the wine added a new layer of delight to the celebration, elevating the entire experience, transforming a pleasant evening into a truly remarkable one. They raised their cups in toasts, their voices ringing with genuine appreciation, their hearts filled with the simple, unadulterated pleasure of good company and exceptional provision. The wine, a symbol of joy and abundance, flowed freely, a testament to the generosity that now seemed boundless, an unexpected gift that enriched the entire occasion. Jesus observed the scene with a gentle, knowing smile, a quiet satisfaction settling over him. He saw the genuine delight on the faces of the guests, the relief and joy on the bridegroom's countenance, and the dawning understanding in the eyes of his disciples. This was not a display of power for its own sake, but an act of profound compassion, a subtle unveiling of the divine presence in the midst of human celebration. The transformation of water into wine was more than a mere trick. It was a sign, a tangible manifestation of a new era, a glimpse into the boundless generosity of the Creator. It spoke of abundance where there had been scarcity, of joy where there had been potential embarrassment, of the sacred weaving itself into the fabric of the ordinary. The 6 stone jars, once symbols of ritual purification, now held a new significance, having become vessels of divine provision, their contents transformed from the mundane to the miraculous. For the disciples, this quiet revelation was a pivotal moment, a foundational experience that would forever alter their perception of Jesus. They had heard his teachings, witnessed his calm authority, but this was different. This was a direct intervention into the natural order, a demonstration of power that transcended human capabilities. It was a moment of profound clarity, a sudden illumination that pierced through any lingering doubts or uncertainties. They felt a deep sense of privilege, of being chosen to witness the very beginning of something monumental, something that would reshape their world and the world beyond. Their faith, which had been nascent and fragile, now began to solidify, taking root like a sturdy sapling, drawing sustenance from the astonishing reality they had just witnessed. They understood, with a certainty that resonated deep within their souls, that they were following not just a teacher, but the Messiah, the one whose glory was now beginning to be revealed. The atmosphere of the feast, already vibrant, seemed to shimmer with an almost ethereal quality, imbued with a subtle, yet profound, sense of wonder. The golden glow of the oil lamps seemed to deepen, the music to swell with a richer harmony, the laughter to ring with a purer joy. The air, already fragrant with the scents of food and flowers, now carried a faint, sweet aroma of the miraculous wine, a scent that hinted at both earthly delight and heavenly grace. The ordinary elements of a wedding celebration, the food, the drink, the music, the fellowship, were elevated, touched by a divine hand, transformed into something more, something sacred. The entire scene became a tableau of divine provision and abundance, a testament to the boundless generosity that could manifest even in the most unexpected of circumstances. As the night deepened, and the stars began to pepper the Galilean sky with their brilliant light, Jesus remained, a silent, watchful presence, his gaze encompassing the entire scene. He saw the threads of human joy, social grace, and divine intervention weaving together, creating a tapestry of meaning that would unfold in the years to come. The wedding at Cana was not merely an event, it was a declaration, a quiet revelation of glory that marked the beginning of his public ministry, the first of many signs that would point towards a new covenant, a new way of understanding the divine in the everyday. The transformation of water into wine was a promise, a foretaste of the abundance that awaited those who would follow him, a testament to the power of faith and obedience, and the boundless grace that could turn the most ordinary of things into something truly extraordinary. The memory of that night, of the water turned to wine, would forever be etched into the hearts of those who witnessed it, a foundational stone upon which their understanding and their faith would be built, guiding them through the unfolding journey that lay ahead, a journey towards a world transformed by love and grace. The memory of that night, of the water turned to wine, would forever be etched into the hearts of those who witnessed it, a foundational stone upon which their understanding and their faith would be built, guiding them through the unfolding journey that lay ahead, a journey towards a world transformed by love and grace. The air, once thick with a subtle undercurrent of anxiety, now shimmered with an almost palpable relief, a lightness that seemed to lift the very spirits of the guests as they savored the new wine. The flutes and lyres, which had momentarily softened their melodies, now swelled with renewed vigor, their notes dancing through the warm evening air, mingling with the rising tide of laughter and animated conversation. The golden glow of the oil lamps, which had cast long, uncertain shadows just moments before, now seemed to burn brighter, illuminating faces flushed with pleasure and surprise. The sweet, earthy aroma of freshly baked bread and roasted meats, which had always been a comforting presence, now felt infused with an added layer of joy, a celebration of abundance unexpectedly restored. Nathanael, his heart still thrumming with the quiet awe of what he had just seen, watched Jesus from across the bustling courtyard. The young man from Nazareth stood with a serene composure, a gentle smile playing on his lips as he observed the unfolding scene, his eyes reflecting the flickering lamplight with a depth that Nathanael was only just beginning to comprehend. There was no fanfare, no outward display of power, only a quiet knowing that radiated from him, a silent testament to the divine grace that had just flowed through his hands. Nathanael felt a profound sense of privilege, a deep gratitude for being present at this sacred, yet utterly ordinary, moment. The skepticism that had once been a familiar companion in his mind had completely dissolved, replaced by a burgeoning faith that felt as solid and real as the stone jars themselves. He thought of his conversation with Jesus under the fig tree, the sudden, piercing knowledge Jesus had possessed, and now this, a miracle woven seamlessly into the fabric of a wedding feast. He truly is the Son of God, Nathanael affirmed to himself, the words echoing in the quiet chambers of his heart, no longer a question but a profound certainty. The King of Israel. The wedding master, a man whose face had been etched with concern only moments before, now moved through the crowd with a buoyant step, a broad smile plastered across his face. He had tasted the wine, a deep, rich vintage that surpassed anything he had sampled earlier, and his professional pride, so nearly wounded, was now fully restored, indeed, elevated. He approached the bridegroom, who was laughing heartily with a group of friends, utterly oblivious to the near catastrophe that had been averted. The master clapped him on the shoulder, his voice booming slightly over the music, a note of genuine admiration coloring his tone. "Every man serves the good wine first," the wedding master declared, his gesture encompassing the joyful revelers, "and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine." He paused, a theatrical twinkle in his eye, "But you have kept the best wine until now." The bridegroom, a young man whose face was alight with the happiness of his new union, turned to the master, a puzzled expression briefly clouding his joyful features. He had no recollection of holding back any wine, let alone a vintage of such superior quality. He had simply assumed the earlier supply had been replenished, perhaps by a swift, unannounced delivery from a generous relative. He shrugged, a humble gesture of acceptance, and offered a beaming smile. "It is a joyous occasion," he replied, his voice filled with the warmth of the celebration, "and we are blessed with such good fortune." He truly believed it was simply a stroke of luck, a testament to the abundant blessings showered upon his wedding day. He felt a surge of pride, a quiet satisfaction that his hospitality, his provision for his guests, was being so effusively praised. He looked around at the faces of his friends and family, their expressions mirroring his own contentment, and a wave of pure happiness washed over him. He had wanted this day to be perfect, a memorable beginning to his life with his bride, and it was, in every conceivable way, exceeding his highest hopes. Jesus observed this exchange with a gentle, knowing gaze. He saw the bridegroom's innocent pride, the wedding master's genuine admiration, and the guests' unbridled enjoyment. There was no need for explanation, no desire for recognition. The miracle had served its purpose, to avert embarrassment, to ensure the continuation of joy, and, most importantly, to reveal a glimpse of his glory to those who had chosen to follow him. He felt a quiet satisfaction, a sense of his divine purpose beginning to unfold in the most unexpected of ways. His mother's initial request, which he had met with a cryptic "My hour has not yet come," had nonetheless set in motion this first sign, a subtle yet powerful affirmation of his identity. He knew that this act, though seemingly small in the grand scheme of things, was a foundational stone, a quiet declaration of the new era he had come to usher in, an era where the ordinary could be transformed into the extraordinary, where abundance would replace scarcity, and where the sacred would permeate the everyday. Nathanael, still watching Jesus, felt a profound sense of peace settle over him. He understood, with a clarity that transcended mere words, that he was witnessing the dawn of something monumental. The world, as he had known it, was subtly but irrevocably shifting. The old ways, the old expectations, were giving way to a new reality, one infused with a grace and power he had only ever dreamed of. He thought of the ancient prophecies, the whispers of a Messiah, and now, here he was, in the midst of a wedding feast, quietly, humbly, revealing his glory. It was not with thunder and lightning, but with the subtle turning of water into wine, a transformation that spoke of life, of joy, of communion. This was not a king who would conquer with armies, but one who would transform hearts with love and provision. The evening deepened, but the celebration showed no signs of waning. The new wine flowed freely, its exquisite taste enhancing the flavors of the roasted lamb and the sweet figs, making the music sound even sweeter and the laughter ring even truer. The air remained warm, a gentle breeze carrying the scent of jasmine and olive trees through the open courtyard, mingling with the lingering aromas of the feast. Children, their energy seemingly boundless, chased each other through the legs of the adults, their giggles adding another layer to the symphony of joy. As the hours passed, and the moon rose high above Cana, casting a soft, silver glow over the village, the disciples gathered around Jesus, their faces reflecting a mixture of wonder and nascent understanding. Peter, ever boisterous, clapped Nathanael on the back, his eyes wide with a joyous disbelief. "Did you see it, Nathanael?" he whispered, his voice thick with awe. "The water, the wine. It was truly magnificent." Andrew, his brother, nodded solemnly, a contemplative expression on his face. "He truly is the one we have been waiting for," he murmured, his gaze fixed on Jesus, who was now engaged in a quiet conversation with his mother, their exchange filled with an unspoken understanding. Nathanael simply smiled, a deep, contented smile that reached his eyes. He didn't need to speak, the truth of the moment resonated within him, a silent symphony of faith. He thought of his hometown, Cana, now forever marked by this quiet miracle. It was not a grand city, not a center of power or learning, but a humble village where the sacred had touched the ordinary, where the divine had revealed itself amidst the joyous chaos of a wedding feast. He felt a profound connection to this place, to this moment, and to the man who had brought such unexpected glory to it. The wedding guests, their hearts full and their spirits light, continued to celebrate late into the night. They spoke of the bridegroom's exceptional taste, his unexpected generosity in saving the best wine for last, completely unaware of the true source of their delight. They praised his hospitality, his foresight, his ability to make their celebration truly unforgettable. The bridegroom, basking in the glow of their compliments, accepted their praise with a humble, grateful heart, still believing it was simply a matter of good fortune and abundant blessings. He would forever remember this day as the most perfect beginning to his new life, a testament to joy and abundance, never knowing the quiet miracle that had truly saved his celebration and elevated it to legendary status. And as the first hints of dawn began to paint the eastern sky with soft hues of rose and gold, the sounds of the celebration gradually softened, the music fading to a gentle hum, the laughter subsiding into contented murmurs. The oil lamps began to flicker and dim, their golden glow giving way to the gentle light of the rising sun. The village of Cana, still sleepy and peaceful, held within its heart the memory of an extraordinary night, a night where water had become wine, where joy had been restored, and where the first quiet sign of a new era had been revealed, a testament to the boundless grace that could transform the most ordinary of things into something truly extraordinary, forever etched into the hearts of those who witnessed it, a foundational stone upon which their understanding and their faith would be built, guiding them through the unfolding journey that lay ahead, a journey towards a world transformed by love and grace. The air, once thick with the subtle tension of a potential social mishap, now hummed with an even richer, more vibrant current of celebration, a joyful wave that washed over every guest, every servant, every corner of the bustling courtyard. The golden glow of the oil lamp seemed to deepen, casting longer, softer shadows that danced in rhythm with the re-energized music, the flutes and lyres now playing with an added lilt, the drums beating a more insistent, celebratory pulse. The sweet, earthy aroma of the feast, which had momentarily faded into the background of concern, now reasserted itself, mingling with the fresh, complex notes of the new wine, a scent that promised both comfort and exquisite pleasure. Mary, her heart swelling with a quiet, profound gratitude, watched as the chief steward, his brow still furrowed in a charming bewilderment, approached the bridegroom with a theatrical flourish. "Everyone serves the good wine first," he declared, his voice carrying just enough to reach the ears of those nearby, "and then, when people have drunk freely, the poorer wine. But you have kept the best until now." A ripple of appreciative murmurs spread through the guests, their faces alight with surprise and delight. The bridegroom, a flush of youthful pride coloring his cheeks, could only offer a bewildered, yet beaming, smile in response, utterly unaware of the quiet, profound transformation that had just taken place. He glanced at his radiant bride, who, though less privy to the logistical anxieties, felt the renewed surge of joy like a warm, comforting embrace, her eyes sparkling with the sheer delight of her perfect day. The looming shadow of potential embarrassment had not only been averted but had been replaced by an unexpected, lavish abundance, elevating their celebration to legendary status in the village. Jesus, standing a little apart, a faint, knowing smile gracing his lips, observed the scene with a calm, almost detached serenity. His eyes, usually so deep and searching, now held a gentle warmth, reflecting the red joy of the gathering. He had acted not for acclaim, but out of compassion, out of a quiet obedience to a deeper calling, and in so doing, had unveiled a glimpse of the divine order he had come to establish. He saw his mother, her gaze meeting his across the lively crowd, a silent understanding passing between them, a shared moment of grace, of faith affirmed, of a journey quietly, powerfully begun. Her earlier anxiety had melted away, replaced by a serene contentment, a deep satisfaction that her son had not only answered her unspoken plea but had done so with a generosity that transcended all expectation. Nathanael, who had been lingering near the stone jars, his mind still reeling from the quiet instructions given to the servants, watched the chief steward's pronouncement with an intensity that bordered on awe. He had seen the water poured, had witnessed the hushed, almost reverent movements of the servants, and now he tasted the wine, a wine unlike any he had ever known, rich and full-bodied, with layers of flavor that spoke of ancient vineyards and sun-drenched hills. It was a wine that sang of abundance, of a goodness that surpassed the ordinary. His initial skepticism, a habit of a keen, discerning mind, had been utterly dissolved by the sheer, undeniable reality of the transformation. He read Jesus' words to him just days earlier, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." And his own astonished reply, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Now, seeing this quiet miracle, this first sign in his own hometown, Nathanael felt a profound shift within him. It was no longer just an intellectual assent, a recognition of prophetic insight, but a visceral, experiential understanding of Jesus' true nature. The glory, which Jesus had spoken of, was not a distant, abstract concept, but a tangible, joyful presence that had just filled 6 enormous stone jars. He felt a deep, unwavering conviction solidify within his heart, a foundational stone indeed, upon which his burgeoning faith would now firmly rest. The disciples, who had been privy to the subtle undercurrents of the wine shortage and the quiet instructions, now looked at Jesus with a renewed sense of wonder and reverence. They had seen him, a man of profound wisdom and gentle authority, but this was different. This was a demonstration of power, of a divine essence that transcended the natural order. Their belief, which had been nascent, a flickering flame in the wind, now blazed brighter, fueled by the undeniable evidence of the miraculous. They understood, in that moment, that they were not merely following a remarkable teacher, but someone whose very presence could transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, whose touch could bring forth abundance from scarcity. This was the beginning, they sensed, of something truly monumental, a new chapter in the story of their world. The wedding feast continued late into the night, the joyous sounds echoing long after the moon had climbed high above Cana. The guests, invigorated by the exceptional wine and the infectious atmosphere of delight, danced with greater abandon, sang with louder voices, and laughed with more unrestrained joy. The bridegroom, still basking in the glow of unexpected praise, felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, though the true source of his good fortune remained a delightful mystery. His bride, her heart overflowing with happiness, felt as though her wedding day had been blessed by an invisible hand, a touch of magic that had elevated it beyond her wildest dreams. Their new beginning, once threatened by a mundane shortage, was now imbued with an almost mythical abundance, a testament to a hospitality that would be spoken of for generations. As the hours wound down, and the first hints of dawn began to paint the eastern sky with soft hues of rose and gold, the village of Cana slowly began to settle into a peaceful slumber. The flickering oil lamps dimmed, their golden glow softening to a gentle amber. The rhythmic sounds of music faded into the quiet chirping of crickets, and the lively conversations gave way to the gentle rustle of leaves in the morning breeze. Yet, a new kind of warmth lingered in the air, a quiet hum of contentment that permeated the very stones of the village. The memory of the wedding, and especially of the miraculous wine, would become a cherished tale, whispered from neighbor to neighbor, a story of unexpected grace and boundless provision. For those who had witnessed the transformation, the experience was more than just a remarkable event. It was a profound revelation. It was a testament to the sacred in the ordinary, to the divine hand that could weave abundance into the fabric of everyday life. The stone jars, once vessels for ritual cleansing, now stood as silent monuments to a quiet miracle, symbols of a new beginning, a new covenant where water could become wine, where joy could be renewed, and where belief, once fragile, could be solidified into an unshakable conviction. The first sign of glory had been revealed, not with thunder and lightning, but with the gentle, flowing grace of a wedding feast, forever etched into the hearts of those who witnessed it, a foundational stone upon which their understanding and their faith would be built, guiding them through the unfolding journey that lay ahead, a journey towards a world transformed by love and grace. The lingering notes of a lyre, softer now, seemed to weave themselves into the very fabric of the evening, a gentle hum that settled over the joyous gathering. The air, once thick with the vibrant clamor of celebration, began to mellow, softening into a contented murmur as the hours deepened. The last of the golden light from the oil lamps cast long, dancing shadows across the courtyard walls, painting fleeting, ephemeral shapes that seemed to mirror the day's extraordinary events. A sense of profound satisfaction, quiet and deep, had settled over the wedding feast, not merely from the abundance of the new wine, but from something far more intangible, a feeling of grace that had permeated every corner of the celebration. Mary, her heart overflowing with a quiet triumph, watched her son from across the bustling courtyard. A faint, almost imperceptible smile played upon her lips, a secret joy that warmed her from within. She saw him speaking gently with the newly married couple, his voice a low, comforting cadence amidst the fading revelry. The young bride, her eyes still sparkling with the day's happiness, listened intently, her hand resting lightly on her husband's arm, a picture of nascent contentment. Mary felt a surge of maternal pride, not for any worldly accomplishment, but for the quiet strength and compassion that radiated from Jesus, a light that had just begun to shine for all to see. She had known, with an unwavering certainty that transcended mere expectation, that he would act, that he would respond to the need, and in doing so, he had not only saved the hosts from embarrassment but had also, in his own gentle way, begun to unveil the deeper purpose that lay within him. Her role, for now, felt complete, a quiet catalyst in a divine plan, and a profound peace settled over her, a sense of rightness in the unfolding of things. Nathaniel, still somewhat awestruck, found himself leaning against a cool stone pillar, the rough texture a grounding sensation against his palm. He watched Jesus, his gaze unwavering, a new understanding dawning within him, like the first blush of dawn after a long night. The wine, rich and fragrant, still lingered on his tongue, a tangible reminder of the impossible, the miraculous. He had seen the water poured, had witnessed the servants' bewildered faces, and had then tasted the transformation, a sweetness that spoke not just of grapes and sun, but of something far older, far more profound. His earlier skepticism, born of a rigorous intellect and a deep-seated honesty, had not vanished entirely, but it had been irrevocably altered, softened, and reshaped into a fervent curiosity, a hunger for more. He recalled Jesus' words to him just days before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. That intimate knowledge, that seeing beyond the surface, had been the first tremor. Now, the water turned to wine, was a seismic shift, an undeniable declaration. Nathanael felt a profound shift within his own spirit, a sensation akin to a seed finally breaking through the earth, reaching for the light. He had followed Jesus out of a nascent belief, a hope that this man truly was the one spoken of by Moses and the prophets. Now, that hope had blossomed into a burgeoning certainty, a conviction that resonated deep within his bones. He was no longer just a follower, but a witness, a testament to a glory that had quietly, yet powerfully, begun to manifest itself in the world. The world, he realized, was about to be profoundly changed, and he, Nathanael from Cana, was to be a part of it. The sounds of the feast began to recede, not abruptly, but like a tide gently pulling back from the shore. The musicians, their fingers tired but their spirits high, played a final, lingering melody, a soft, melancholic tune that spoke of endings and new beginnings. Guests, their bellies full and their hearts light, began to gather their cloaks, exchanging warm farewells and promises to meet again. The air, though still carrying the scent of roasted lamb and sweet wine, was now infused with the cooler breath of the approaching night, a subtle shift that signaled the end of the day's fervent celebration. Jesus, having offered his blessings to the newlyweds, turned and met his mother's gaze across the diminishing crowd. There was no need for words between them, only a shared understanding that passed like a silent current, profound and knowing. He saw the satisfaction in her eyes, the quiet strength that had always defined her, and a flicker of deep affection softened his own expression. He knew that this moment, this first public manifestation of his power, had been orchestrated not just by circumstance, but by her unwavering faith, a gentle push that had set in motion a grander unveiling. He nodded almost imperceptibly, a gesture of acknowledgement and love, before turning towards the courtyard exit, his disciples gathering around him like a silent, expectant retinue. As Jesus moved towards the gate, Nathanael detached himself from the pillar, a quiet determination in his stride. He fell into step beside Peter, who was already walking with a newfound bounce, his boisterous energy subdued into a thoughtful intensity. John, ever observant, walked a little behind, his eyes still reflecting the wonder of the evening. The disciples, a small band of men who had answered a call they barely understood, now walked with a shared sense of purpose, a quiet awe that had deepened with the evening's events. The miracle had not been a thunderclap, but a gentle rain, soaking into the dry earth of their understanding, preparing it for the seeds of future revelation. The moon, a slender crescent, had begun its slow ascent in the inky sky, casting a pale, ethereal glow over the village rooftops. The stars, like scattered diamonds, began to emerge, piercing the deepening twilight with their ancient, unwavering light. The sounds of the village, too, were shifting, the boisterous laughter of the wedding feast giving way to the distant bleating of a goat, the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze, and the rhythmic chirping of crickets, a nightly chorus that had accompanied human life for millennia. As they passed through the archway and out into the quiet lane, the air grew cooler, carrying the damp scent of earth and distant olive groves. The narrow path, winding between sleeping houses, was dimly lit by the occasional oil lamp flickering behind a window, casting pools of warm, inviting light onto the dusty ground. The sounds of the wedding feast, once so vibrant and immediate, now receded into a soft hum, a memory already beginning to settle into the quiet corners of their minds. Nathaniel glanced back at the wedding house, now a silhouette against the rising moon. He imagined the lingering scent of wine and celebration, the quiet joy that would undoubtedly fill the hearts of the newlyweds and their families. But for him, the house now held a different significance, a place where the ordinary had brushed against the extraordinary, where water had become wine, and where a quiet man from Nazareth had begun to reveal his true nature. The transformation had been subtle, almost understated, yet its implications were vast, stretching out into an unknown future, promising a world remade. Jesus walked with a measured pace, his gaze fixed on the path ahead, yet his presence seemed to encompass everything around him. He felt the cool night air on his skin, heard the gentle whisper of the wind through the olive trees, and sensed the quiet stirring of the world as it settled into slumber. The day had been long, filled with the joy of human connection and the quiet unfolding of divine purpose. He had stepped into the flow of human need, and in so doing, had allowed a glimpse of the glory that resided within him, a glory meant not for display, but for the quiet transformation of hearts and lives. The hour had not yet fully come, not for the ultimate sacrifice, but for the initial revealing, the gentle beckoning that would draw others to him, preparing them for the greater journey ahead. Mary, having lingered a moment longer to offer a final word of comfort to the bride's mother, now emerged from the wedding house, her steps light and purposeful. She saw her son and his disciples disappearing around a bend in the lane, their figures silhouetted against the pale moonlight. A profound sense of peace enveloped her, a quiet satisfaction that resonated deep within her soul. She knew that the path ahead for her son would be challenging, filled with both wonder and sorrow, but tonight, in the gentle glow of Cana, a seed had been planted, a beginning had been made. She turned her own steps towards the quiet comfort of her temporary dwelling, the soft sounds of the night embracing her, a gentle lullaby after a day of quiet miracles. The village of Cana, now settling into a deep and peaceful slumber, seemed to breathe softly under the watchful gaze of the stars. The flickering oil lamps in the wedding house were slowly extinguished, one by one, leaving only the pale moonlight to illuminate the courtyard where such a quiet wonder had unfolded. The last strains of music had faded, replaced by the gentle symphony of the night to the rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl, the soft murmur of the breeze carrying the scent of jasmine and earth. The stone water jars, now empty, stood silently in the corner of the courtyard, their rough surfaces cool to the touch. They held no more water, nor wine, but they bore the silent imprint of a moment when the ordinary had been touched by the divine, when expectation had been surpassed by grace. They were silent witnesses, awaiting the dawn, when the sun would rise again over Cana, illuminating a world that, though outwardly unchanged, had been subtly, yet profoundly, transformed by the quiet miracle that had unfolded within its walls. The echoes of the wedding feast, the laughter, the music, the scent of the miraculous wine would linger in the air, a gentle whisper of the glory that had been revealed, a peaceful departure into the quietude of a starlit night, where the world rested, holding its breath for the dawn of a new day and the unfolding of a new era. The first rays of dawn, pale and hesitant, began to paint the eastern sky with hues of rose and lavender, slowly dispelling the deep indigo of the night that still clung to the narrow lanes of Cana, where the air, though cooler, still held the lingering sweetness of the miraculous wine and the faint scent of roasted meats from the previous evening's revelry. The village, usually stirring with the first crow of the rooster, remained wrapped in a profound quietude, a testament to the joyous exhaustion that had finally claimed its inhabitants after days of celebration, leaving only the soft rustling of olive leaves in a gentle breeze and the distant bleating of a solitary goat to break the stillness. In the courtyard where the great stone jars stood, silent and monumental, a faint mist rose from the cool earth, softening their ancient contours and making them appear almost ethereal beneath the slowly brightening sky, as if they too were dreaming of the extraordinary transformation they had witnessed. Mary, ever an early riser, found herself drawn to the quiet sanctity of the courtyard, her steps light upon the packed earth as she moved through the sleeping household, a delicate shawl wrapped around her shoulders against the morning chill. She approached the jars, her gaze resting upon their rough, unadorned surfaces, a soft smile gracing her lips, remembering the moment when the water, drawn from the village well, had shimmered with an unseen energy, transforming into a vintage that had astonished even the most seasoned palates. There was a profound sense of peace within her, a quiet understanding that transcended the immediate joy of the wedding, for she had glimpsed, however fleetingly, the unfolding of a divine purpose, a subtle revelation of the glory that had always resided within her Son, Jesus, now beginning to manifest in the world. She reached out, her fingers tracing the cool, damp stone of one of the jars, feeling its solid, ancient presence, a silent sentinel that had borne witness to a moment of grace that would forever echo in the annals of time, a moment that had woven itself inextricably into the fabric of her own heart, deepening her faith and strengthening her resolve for whatever lay ahead. As the sun climbed higher, casting long, slender shadows across the courtyard and warming the air with its gentle embrace, Jesus emerged from the small guest chamber he shared with his disciples, his movements unhurried and thoughtful, his eyes reflecting the deep tranquility of the morning. He saw his mother standing by the jars, her silhouette outlined against the growing light, and a quiet understanding passed between them, a silent communion that needed no words, for they shared a bond forged in love and destiny, a shared knowledge of the sacred mysteries that had begun to unfold. He joined her, his presence a quiet strength beside her, and together they stood for a long moment, simply observing the jars, their rough surfaces now gleaming faintly in the increasing light, holding within their silent depths the memory of a miracle. The air around them seemed to hum with a subtle energy, a gentle reverberation of the divine presence that had so recently touched this ordinary place, transforming it into a sacred space, a threshold between the mundane and the miraculous. Nathanael, who had spent a restless night pondering the implications of what he had seen, awoke with a sense of wonder still clinging to him like the morning dew, his mind replaying the expressions of astonishment on the faces of the master of the feast and the servants, the rich aroma of the wine, and the quiet authority in Jesus' voice. He had always been a man of deep contemplation, one who sought truth with an earnest heart, and the events of the previous evening had stirred within him a profound questioning, an awakening to possibilities he had never before considered, even after his initial encounter with Jesus beneath the fig tree. He rose from his pallet, the sounds of the waking household slowly beginning to filter through the thick stone walls, and made his way to the courtyard, drawn by an irresistible curiosity, finding Jesus and Mary standing together in quiet contemplation, their figures bathed in the soft, golden light of the nascent day. He hesitated for a moment, not wishing to intrude upon their private moment, but Jesus, sensing his presence, turned and offered a gentle, welcoming smile, inviting him to join their silent vigil by the monumental jars. "The water, it truly became wine," Nathanael murmured, his voice hushed with awe, his gaze sweeping over the jars as if seeking some visible trace of the transformation, some lingering shimmer of the divine. It was beyond comprehension, yet undeniably real. Jesus' gaze was thoughtful, his eyes holding a depth that seemed to encompass both the earthly and the celestial. "The Father's generosity knows no bounds, Nathanael," he replied softly, his voice a gentle balm in the morning air. "He delights in abundance, in overflowing grace, in turning the ordinary into something extraordinary, revealing his glory in unexpected ways, even in the midst of a simple wedding feast." Mary nodded in agreement, her heart swelling with a quiet pride and a profound sense of gratitude, understanding that this miracle was not merely a display of power, but a tender act of love, a testament to the divine concern for human joy and celebration, a beautiful expression of the sacred interwoven with the everyday. The servants, who had been the first to draw the water and the first to witness its transformation, were now quietly going about their morning duties, their faces still etched with a mixture of wonder and a newfound reverence, their movements more deliberate, as if they too were carrying a sacred secret within their hearts, forever changed by their proximity to the miraculous. Later that morning, as the village slowly roused itself from its slumber and the aroma of freshly baked bread began to mingle with the lingering sweetness of the wine, the bride and groom, still basking in the glow of their new union, emerged from their chambers. They were greeted by the gentle murmur of congratulations and the warm smiles of their families, their faces alight with happiness, though they remained blissfully unaware of the extraordinary intervention that had saved their celebration from an embarrassing shortfall. The master of the feast, however, carried a secret smile, a knowing glint in his eye as he surveyed the remaining jars of wine, still marveling at its unparalleled quality, occasionally catching the eye of one of the servants, a silent acknowledgement passing between them of the wondrous event they had shared. He knew that this wedding, already memorable for its joy and community spirit, would now be spoken of for generations, not just for the union of two families, but for the inexplicable, magnificent wine that had graced their tables, a wine that tasted of pure joy and divine blessing, a testament to the unexpected grace that had flowed so freely. As the wedding celebrations began to draw to a close, a sense of gentle melancholy settled over Cana, a bittersweet feeling that always accompanies the departure of loved ones and the ending of joyous occasions. Jesus and his disciples prepared to journey onwards, their path leading them towards Capernaum, a bustling town on the shores of the Sea of Galilee, where new teachings awaited and further signs of the unfolding kingdom would be revealed. Mary, after bidding a fond farewell to the newlyweds and their families, shared a quiet moment with her son, her hand resting gently on his arm, her eyes conveying a mother's love and a deep, unwavering faith in his divine mission. "Go, my son," she whispered, her voice soft as the morning breeze, and continued to show them the Father's love, for the world hungers for such grace, for such abundant joy. The journey from Cana to Capernaum was not long, but it offered a change of scenery and a shift in atmosphere, moving from the quiet, intimate setting of the village to the more vibrant, bustling energy of a thriving lakeside town. As they walked, the sun now high in the sky, casting dappled patterns through the olive groves and vineyards that lined their path, Jesus engaged his disciples in quiet conversation, his words weaving together parables and teachings that spoke of the kingdom of heaven, of seed sown on fertile ground, and of the hidden treasures that lay within the hearts of those who sought truth. Nathanael, walking a little apart, listened intently, his mind still grappling with the profound implications of the Cana miracle, feeling a stirring within his soul, a deep conviction that he was witnessing the dawn of a new era, a time when the divine would walk among humanity in an unprecedented way. The dusty road beneath their feet seemed to hum with a newfound purpose, each step carrying them closer to the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, to the revelation of a glory that would transform not just a wedding feast, but the very fabric of existence itself. The landscape transformed gradually, the rolling hills and agricultural fields of Cana giving way to the sparkling expanse of the Sea of Galilee, its waters shimmering under the midday sun, dotted with fishing boats and fringed by reeds. Capernaum, nestled on its northern shore, presented a lively spectacle, its marketplace bustling with merchants hawking their wares, fishermen mending their nets, and the excited chatter of children playing in the narrow streets. The air here was thick with the scent of fish, salt, and exotic spices, a stark contrast to the rustic simplicity of Cana, reflecting the town's importance as a trade hub and a center of Roman administration. As they entered the town, the sounds of everyday life enveloped them, the rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the distant cries of gulls, the melodic calls of vendors, all blending into a vibrant symphony of human activity, a rich tapestry of sights and sounds that spoke of a world teeming with needs, and with a quiet yearning for something more profound. Jesus and his disciples found lodging in a modest house near the synagogue, a dwelling that offered a respite from the journey and a quiet space for reflection amidst the town's clamor. The evening brought with it a different kind of beauty as the sun dipped below the western hills, painting the sky in fiery oranges and deep purples, casting a golden glow upon the tranquil waters of the lake. The air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and the distant strains of a shepherd's pipe, creating an atmosphere of gentle serenity that invited introspection. Jesus, often seeking solitude for prayer, would sometimes walk by the lake's edge under the vast canopy of stars, the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the shore providing a soothing accompaniment to his thoughts, his spirit communing with the Father amidst the silent grandeur of the Galilean night. One evening, as the moon cast its silvery light upon the sleeping town, Nathanael found himself unable to rest, his mind still alight with questions and reflections. He rose quietly, careful not to disturb his sleeping companions, and stepped out into the cool night air, drawn by an unspoken need to process the profound changes unfolding within him. He walked towards the lake, the soft sand cool beneath his bare feet, the vastness of the starlit sky above him mirroring the immensity of the truths he was beginning to grasp. The gentle breeze carried the scent of the lake, a mixture of fresh water and damp earth, and the distant calls of night birds added to the tranquil ambience, creating a perfect setting for quiet contemplation. He sat upon a smooth, water-worn stone at the edge of the shore, gazing out across the shimmering expanse of the Sea of Galilee, its surface reflecting the countless stars like scattered diamonds. The miracle at Cana, though 1 week past, still resonated deeply within him, not just as an astonishing display of power, but as a profound revelation of Jesus' identity, a glimpse into the very heart of the divine. He recalled the words of the master of the feast, praising the groom for saving the best wine for last, a testament to the unparalleled quality of what had been created from mere water. It was a sign, Nathanael realized, not just of abundance, but of a new covenant, a new way of being, where the old forms would be transformed by a divine grace that surpassed all human expectation, a grace that flowed freely and generously, enriching life in ways previously unimagined. He thought of the 6 stone jars, ancient and utilitarian, now imbued with a sacred memory, silent witnesses to a moment when the ordinary had been touched by the extraordinary, when the mundane had become a vessel for the miraculous. These jars, typically used for ritual purification, had been filled with common water, yet through Jesus' quiet command, they had yielded a wine of such exquisite taste that it had defied all earthly explanation, a wine that spoke of joy, of celebration, and of a divine provision that was both unexpected and boundless. Nathanael closed his eyes, picturing the scene in his mind's eye, the festive atmosphere, the anxious faces of the servants, Mary's calm assurance, and Jesus' serene presence amidst the unfolding wonder. It was a moment etched forever into his memory, a cornerstone of his burgeoning faith, a powerful affirmation that the man he had followed from beneath the fig tree was indeed more than just a teacher, more than just a prophet, but the very Son of God, the Messiah for whom Israel had longed for centuries. A gentle wave lapped at the shore, drawing him back to the present moment, to the cool night air and the vast, silent expanse of the lake. He opened his eyes, feeling a profound sense of peace settle over him, a quiet assurance that transcended all doubt and fear. The world, though still filled with its complexities and challenges, now seemed imbued with a deeper meaning, a sacred purpose, for he had witnessed the glory, the first sign, and his heart was forever changed, filled with a renewed hope and an unwavering conviction in the unfolding of God's plan. He knew that this journey with Jesus would be one of continuous revelation, a path filled with wonders and teachings that would challenge and transform, leading him ever closer to the heart of divine truth, to a profound understanding of the kingdom that Jesus had come to proclaim. The next morning, the disciples gathered with Jesus, their faces reflecting a mixture of anticipation and quiet reverence, ready to embark on the next phase of their journey, to witness more of the signs and wonders that Jesus would perform. The news of the miraculous wine had begun to spread, albeit quietly, carried by the whispers of the servants and a few close family members who had been privy to the truth, creating a subtle ripple of excitement and curiosity among those who heard the tale. While the general public in Capernaum was not yet fully aware of the extraordinary event in Cana, there was a growing sense of expectation surrounding Jesus, a feeling that something significant was stirring, that a new voice was emerging, one that spoke with authority and performed deeds that defied conventional understanding. As the days unfolded in Capernaum, Jesus began to teach in the synagogue, his words resonating with a power and wisdom that captivated his listeners, drawing crowds who had never before heard such profound truth spoken with such clarity and conviction. He spoke of love, of forgiveness, of justice, and of the kingdom of God, inviting all who would listen to embrace a new way of living, a path of righteousness and compassion that would transform their hearts and their communities. his teachings were not merely intellectual discourses, but living words, imbued with a spiritual energy that touched the deepest parts of the soul, stirring hope in the hearts of the downtrodden and challenging the assumptions of the complacent. The people of Capernaum, accustomed to the rigid interpretations of the scribes and Pharisees, found themselves drawn to Jesus' gentle yet authoritative manner, sensing in him a profound connection to the divine, a direct conduit to the sacred truths that had long been obscured by tradition and ritual. One afternoon, as Jesus taught by the lakeside, a large crowd gathered around him, eager to hear his words, their faces reflecting a spectrum of emotions: curiosity, hope, skepticism, and a deep yearning for healing and understanding. The sun beat down upon them, its warmth tempered by a gentle breeze that carried the scent of the lake, and the rhythmic lapping of the waves provided a soothing backdrop to Jesus' voice, which, though gentle, carried across the water with remarkable clarity, reaching even those on the fringes of the crowd. He spoke of the lilies of the field, of the birds of the air, drawing lessons from the natural world that resonated deeply with the simple, agrarian people who comprised much of his audience, illustrating profound spiritual truths through everyday observations, making the divine accessible and relatable. Among the crowd was a man named Simon, a fisherman by trade, who had heard whispers of Jesus' teachings and the extraordinary event at Cana, though he remained somewhat skeptical, a practical man accustomed to the tangible realities of nets and fish. He stood at the back, his arms crossed, observing Jesus with a keen, discerning eye, listening intently to his words, trying to reconcile the stories he had heard with the gentle, unassuming presence before him. There was something about Jesus' gaze, however, a profound kindness and an unwavering conviction, that began to chip away at Simon's skepticism, stirring within him a nascent curiosity, a feeling that this man was unlike any other teacher he had ever encountered, one who spoke not just with knowledge, but with an undeniable authority that seemed to emanate from a deeper source. As the day wore on and the sun began its descent towards the western horizon, casting long, golden shadows across the water, Jesus concluded his teaching, and the crowd, though reluctant to depart, began to disperse, their minds buzzing with the new ideas and insights they had received. Simon, however, found himself drawn forward, an inexplicable compulsion guiding his steps, until he stood closer to Jesus, his gaze meeting the teacher's calm, knowing eyes. There was no judgment there, only an invitation, a silent understanding that seemed to penetrate to the very core of his being, a recognition of his unspoken questions and his hidden yearnings. Jesus, sensing Simon's internal struggle and his earnest search for truth, approached him with a gentle smile. "Simon, son of John," he began, his voice soft yet clear, "do you seek to understand more fully the kingdom of God?" Simon, taken aback by Jesus' direct address and the warmth in his gaze, found himself nodding, a sudden rush of emotion welling within him. "I have heard your words, teacher," he replied, his voice a little rough with emotion, "and I have heard of the wonders at Cana. My heart is stirred, but my mind still grapples with these things." He paused, then added, "I am a simple fisherman, accustomed to the tangible, to the sweat of my brow and the bounty of the sea." Jesus' smile deepened, his eyes twinkling with a gentle understanding. "The kingdom of God, Simon, is often found in the most ordinary of places, in the everyday rhythms of life, in the simple acts of faith and obedience," he explained, his gaze sweeping across the tranquil surface of the lake, where fishing boats were now making their way back to shore, their sails catching the last rays of the setting sun. Just as water was transformed into wine, so too can ordinary leaves be transformed by the touch of divine grace, becoming vessels for a greater purpose, for a more abundant life. He then invited Simon to join him and his other disciples, to follow him not just for a day, but to embark on a journey of profound discovery, a calling to become fishers of men, to cast their nets not for temporal sustenance, but for the eternal souls of humanity. Simon, still grappling with the enormity of the invitation, felt a powerful pull, an undeniable conviction that this was a moment of destiny, a turning point in his life that would forever alter its course. He looked out at the familiar waters of the lake, at his fishing boat bobbing gently in the distance, and then back at Jesus, whose presence radiated a quiet authority and a boundless love. In that moment, a profound decision was made, a leap of faith that transcended all logic and worldly concerns, a surrender to a higher calling that promised a life of purpose and meaning far beyond the confines of his humble existence. The sun finally dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in a spectacular display of fiery oranges and deep purples, casting a soft, ethereal glow upon the tranquil waters of the Sea of Galilee, as Simon, with a newfound sense of purpose and a heart brimming with both trepidation and exhilaration, turned his back on his fishing nets and walked towards a new future, a future intertwined with the quiet miracle worker from Nazareth. The air grew cooler, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke and the distant strains of a shepherd's pipe, and the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the shore provided a soothing accompaniment to the unfolding of a new chapter, not just for Simon, but for all who would be touched by the transformative power of the one who had turned water into wine, who had brought forth abundance from scarcity, and who now called ordinary men to embark on an extraordinary journey, to witness the ongoing revelation of glory in a world yearning for light and truth. The stars began to emerge, one by one, like tiny pinpricks of light in the vast, velvet expanse of the night sky, mirroring the countless possibilities that now lay before them, each twinkling with the promise of new beginnings, of deeper understanding, and of the profound, gentle unfolding of a divine plan that embraced all of creation. The cool Galilean night deepened, wrapping the small village of Cana in a blanket of stars, each one a distant, shimmering jewel scattered across the inky canvas of the heavens, and the soft murmur of the wedding feast, though subdued, still carried on the gentle breeze, a testament to the enduring joy that had permeated the day. The last strains of the flutes and lyres had faded into the quietude, leaving behind only the contented hum of conversation and the occasional clinking of earthenware cups, as guests lingered, savoring the unexpected continuation of the celebration. Jesus, having quietly withdrawn from the immediate throng, found a moment of respite near an ancient olive tree whose gnarled branches, silvered by moonlight, cast intricate shadows upon the dusty ground, offering a brief sanctuary from the joyful clamor. He observed the remaining revelers with a serene gaze, a faint, knowing smile playing upon his lips, as the subtle shift in the atmosphere, from near panic to renewed delight, was palpable, a gentle current flowing through the heart of the gathering. Mary, ever watchful, her eyes carrying a profound depth that spoke of years of quiet observation and unwavering faith, approached him with a graceful, unhurried step, her simple tunic blending almost seamlessly with the dim light of the courtyard. She carried a small, unglazed clay cup, its surface cool against her palm, and offered it to him without a word, a silent gesture of understanding and maternal care that transcended the need for spoken pleasantries. He accepted it with a gentle nod, their eyes meeting for a brief, eloquent moment, a silent conversation passing between them that spoke of shared history, unspoken burdens, and an abiding love that formed the very bedrock of their lives. The air, now cooler, carried the faint, sweet scent of night-blooming jasmine from a nearby trellis, mingling with the lingering aroma of roasted lamb and freshly baked bread, creating a rich tapestry of sensory details that painted the scene with an almost tangible beauty. The master of the feast was quite perplexed, Mary finally murmured, her voice soft as a rustling leaf, a hint of amusement dancing in her eyes, though his perplexity quickly gave way to astonished delight, a transformation almost as remarkable as the wine itself. Jesus chuckled softly, a low, resonant sound that seemed to blend with the rustling leaves above them, a rare and precious sound that Mary cherished deeply, for it spoke of a lightness of spirit that often lay hidden beneath his profound earnestness. "Indeed," he replied, his gaze still fixed on the distant figures. He spoke of the bridegroom's wisdom, unaware that the true source of this unexpected bounty lay elsewhere, a testament to the quiet ways in which grace often manifests, unseen by many. Nathanael, who had been observing them from a respectful distance, now approached, his brow still furrowed in thoughtful contemplation, his usual directness softened by the day's extraordinary events. He had witnessed the transformation of the water, standing close enough to see the clear liquid drawn from the stone jars, and had then tasted the rich, full-bodied wine that followed, a sensory experience that had profoundly shaken his preconceived notions of the world. "Rabbi," he began, his voice a low rumble, "I confess, my mind grapples with what my eyes have seen, for it defies the natural order. Yet the taste of that wine, it was unlike any I have ever encountered, a richness that spoke of ancient vineyards and sun-drenched hills." Jesus turned to him, his expression gentle, yet imbued with an unmistakable authority that seemed to emanate from within, a quiet radiance that drew others into its orbit. "And do you now believe, Nathanael, because you have tasted a wine that surpasses all others, or because you have glimpsed a deeper truth, a whisper of the kingdom that is drawing near?" he asked, his words not a challenge, but an invitation to further reflection, a gentle nudge towards a deeper understanding that lay beyond mere sensory perception. Nathanael paused, his gaze drifting towards the stars, his mind wrestling with the implications of Jesus' question, for he had always prided himself on his logical mind, his ability to discern truth through careful observation and reasoned argument. The miracle at Cana, however, had bypassed logic entirely, appealing directly to a deeper, more intuitive part of his being, a part that now stirred with a nascent wonder. "I believe," Nathanael finally declared, his voice imbued with a newfound conviction, "that something extraordinary has transpired, something that speaks of a power beyond human comprehension, and I am humbled to have witnessed it, for it has opened my eyes to possibilities I had never dared to imagine." Mary smiled, a knowing, tender expression, for she recognized the stirrings of faith in Nathanael's words, a journey she herself had embarked upon many years ago, a journey that had led her to embrace the miraculous with a quiet, unwavering trust. The three of them stood for a time in comfortable silence, enveloped by the tranquil beauty of the Galilean night, the air filled with the subtle symphony of crickets and the distant barking of a village dog, a reminder of the ordinary world that continued to unfold around their extraordinary moment. As the moon climbed higher, casting long, ethereal shadows across the courtyard, the last of the wedding guests began to depart, their voices hushed with contentment and a lingering sense of wonder, their footsteps echoing softly on the ancient stones. The bride and bridegroom, their faces alight with an enduring happiness, approached Jesus and Mary, their gratitude evident in their bowed heads and the warmth of their smiles. "We are eternally grateful," the bridegroom said, his voice thick with emotion, "for the joy you have brought to our celebration, a joy that will forever be etched in our memories, a blessing beyond measure." The bride, her eyes shining, simply clasped Mary's hand, a silent gesture of profound appreciation that spoke volumes, a bond forged in shared joy and unexpected grace. Jesus offered them a gentle blessing, his words a quiet benediction that seemed to weave itself into the very fabric of their new life together, promising enduring love and abundant grace, a foundation upon which they could build their future. As they watched the young couple walk away, their figures bathed in the soft moonlight, disappearing into the quiet lanes of Cana, a sense of completion settled over the small gathering. The wedding, a symbol of new beginnings and enduring covenant, had been blessed in a way that transcended the earthly, hinting at a divine tapestry being woven with threads of grace and wonder. The next morning, as the first blush of dawn painted the eastern sky with hues of rose and gold, casting a warm, gentle light over the sleeping village, Jesus and his disciples prepared to depart from Cana. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and awakening blossoms, a stark contrast to the lingering warmth of the previous night's festivities. The sounds of the village slowly began to stir, a rooster's distant crow, the low bleating of goats, the rhythmic thud of a woman grinding grain, all familiar melodies of daily life in Galilee. Jesus had spent a quiet hour in prayer before the sun had fully risen, his silhouette framed against the burgeoning light, his thoughts a profound communion with the Father, preparing for the journey ahead, a journey that would lead them through the vibrant landscapes of Galilee and beyond. Mary, having ensured they had provisions for their travels, freshly baked bread, dried figs, and a small skin of water, bid them farewell with a tender embrace for her son, her eyes conveying a silent blessing and an unspoken understanding of the path he was now walking. "Go with grace, my son," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "and may the light of the Father guide your every step, for the world awaits the truth you carry." Jesus returned her embrace with a deep affection, a silent acknowledgement of her unwavering support and profound faith, a bond that remained unbroken despite the unfolding of his public ministry. The disciples, still somewhat awestruck by the events at the wedding, gathered their simple belongings, their sandals stirring the dust of the courtyard as they prepared to follow their rabbi. Simon Peter, ever the most outspoken, still wore an expression of bewildered wonder, his mind replaying the moment the master of the feast had declared the wine to be of unparalleled quality, a memory that now seemed almost dreamlike in its extraordinary nature. "To think," he muttered to Andrew, his brother, as they adjusted their cloaks, "that the very water we drew, the water from those stone jars, became such a marvel. It still makes my head spin, Andrew, truly it does." Andrew, quieter and more reflective, simply nodded, his gaze fixed on Jesus, a deepening reverence in his eyes, for he sensed that this was only the beginning of wonders, a mere prelude to the greater revelations yet to come. As the small group began their descent from the elevated village of Cana, the sun climbed higher, casting long, slender shadows before them, and the landscape of Galilee unfolded in a breathtaking panorama. Rolling hills, carpeted in vibrant green after the winter rains, stretched towards the distant shimmering expanse of the Sea of Galilee, its surface a brilliant sapphire under the morning sky. Ancient olive groves, their silver-green leaves rustling gently in the breeze, dotted the hillsides, interspersed with terraced vineyards where young vines were just beginning to unfurl their tender shoots, promising future harvests. The air grew warmer with each passing hour, carrying the earthy scent of the fertile soil and the sweet fragrance of wild herbs that grew abundantly along the winding paths. Their journey took them along ancient trade routes, well-worn paths trodden by countless generations of merchants, pilgrims, and farmers, connecting the scattered villages and towns of the region. They passed through small hamlets where children played in the dusty streets, their laughter echoing in the morning air, and women gathered at communal wells, their clay pitchers balanced gracefully on their heads, their conversations a gentle hum. Jesus often paused to greet these villagers, his eyes meeting theirs with a warmth and sincerity that instantly drew them in, his simple words of blessing leaving a lasting impression, a quiet ripple of hope in the rhythm of their daily lives. Nathanael, walking a little apart from the main group, found himself observing the details of the landscape with a newfound intensity, as if the miracle at Cana had sharpened his senses, allowing him to perceive the world in a more profound and vibrant way. He noticed the intricate patterns of sunlight filtering through the leaves of a fig tree, the delicate dance of a butterfly flitting among wild poppies, the subtle changes in the texture of the earth beneath his feet. His internal world, once so firmly rooted in the tangible and the logical, now felt expansive, infused with a sense of awe and wonder, as if a veil had been gently lifted, revealing a deeper layer of reality. He reflected on the words of the prophets, recalling passages that spoke of new heavens and a new earth, of waters turning into wine, of a time when the desert would blossom like a rose. Words that had once seemed metaphorical, now resonated with a startling, tangible truth. The journey was not merely a physical traverse of the Galilean landscape, it was also an internal pilgrimage for the disciples, a period of quiet assimilation and deepening understanding. They walked mostly in silence, each man wrestling with his own thoughts, processing the extraordinary event they had witnessed, the implications of which were slowly beginning to unfold in their minds. James and John, the sons of Zebedee, walked side by side, their usual boisterous energy subdued by a thoughtful reverence. John, the younger, often stole glances at Jesus, his gaze filled with a quiet intensity, as if trying to decipher the unspoken wisdom that emanated from his rabbi, a wisdom that seemed to flow effortlessly, like a deep and ancient river. As they approached the outskirts of a larger town, perhaps Capernaum, the sounds of human activity grew more pronounced, the distant shouts of fishermen mending their nets by the lakeside, the rhythmic hammering of a carpenter, the lively chatter from a bustling marketplace. The air became thick with the scent of spices, freshly baked bread, and the salty tang of the nearby sea, a vibrant symphony of everyday life that contrasted sharply with the quietude of the open road. Jesus led them towards a simple dwelling on the edge of the town, a modest house with whitewashed walls and a flat roof, typical of Galilean architecture, offering them a place of rest before their next endeavors. Inside, the house was cool and dim, a welcome respite from the midday sun, its earthen floor swept clean, and simple mats laid out for sitting. A small oil lamp, though unlit, sat on a niche in the wall, ready for the evening. The air carried the faint, comforting scent of dried herbs, perhaps rosemary or thyme, hung from the rafters. Jesus sat down, his movements unhurried and graceful, and gestured for his disciples to do the same, creating a quiet circle of shared presence. He spoke little at first, allowing the silence to settle around them, a space for each man to reflect and absorb the journey's impressions. Then, his voice soft yet clear, he began to speak, not of the miracle at Cana directly, but of the nature of the kingdom of God, a kingdom that was not of this world, yet was profoundly present within it, transforming it from the inside out. He spoke of the seeds of faith, planted in the hearts of men, that could grow into mighty trees, offering shelter and sustenance to all who sought it. He spoke of the hidden treasures, more precious than gold or silver, that lay buried within the ordinary moments of life, waiting to be discovered by those with eyes to see and hearts to understand. His words, like gentle rain, began to nourish the fertile ground of their minds, preparing them for the deeper truths that lay ahead. He explained that the transformation of water into wine was not merely a display of power, but a sign, a semeion, pointing to a deeper reality, the coming of a new covenant, a new abundance, a spiritual richness that would far surpass the material. The old ways, like the water of purification, were good and necessary, but they were now being fulfilled, transformed into something new and glorious, like the finest wine. This new wine, he explained, was the joy of the kingdom, the intoxicating truth of God's boundless love, offered freely to all who would receive it. The disciples listened intently, their faces etched with a mixture of awe and profound concentration, as if each word were a precious pearl being strung onto a necklace of understanding. Simon Peter, ever practical, pondered the implications for their daily lives. "So, Rabbi," he ventured, his rough fisherman's hands instinctively clenching and unclenching, "does this mean that the world itself, the very fabric of our existence, can be transformed, can be made new?" Jesus met his gaze with a gentle smile, a warmth radiating from his eyes that seemed to encompass all understanding. "Indeed, Simon," he affirmed, "for the kingdom of God is not a distant realm, but a living, breathing reality that seeks to permeate every aspect of creation, bringing healing, restoration, and a profound renewal to all that is broken or diminished." This conversation continued for some time, flowing like a gentle stream, touching upon themes of divine provision, the sacredness of the ordinary, and the transformative power of faith. Jesus spoke of the importance of hospitality, reminding them of the wedding feast, where the hosts had faced a moment of potential shame, and how divine grace had intervened, not only to avert disaster but to elevate the celebration to an unprecedented level of joy. He emphasized that true hospitality was not just about providing food and drink, but about offering welcome, acceptance, and a spirit of generosity that mirrored the boundless generosity of God. As the afternoon light began to soften, casting long, golden rays through the small window, a sense of deep peace settled over the room. The disciples felt a profound shift within themselves, a subtle but significant reorientation of their perspectives. The world, which had once seemed a place of predictable routines and earthly concerns, now shimmered with a hidden potential, a sacred dimension that had always been present but only now revealed through the eyes of their master. They understood, in a nascent way, that their journey with Jesus was not merely about following a charismatic teacher, but about embarking on an adventure into the very heart of God's unfolding plan for humanity, a plan filled with quiet miracles and glorious revelations. Later, as evening descended, painting the sky with hues of lavender and deep indigo, Jesus and his disciples walked towards the shore of the Sea of Galilee. The air was cooler now, carrying the fresh, briny scent of the lake, and the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the pebbled shore provided a soothing accompaniment to their contemplative mood. The moon, a slender crescent, hung low in the western sky, casting a silvery path across the dark waters, and the distant lights of fishing boats twinkled like fallen stars, creating a scene of serene beauty. They found a quiet spot on the shore, where the sand was soft beneath their feet, and sat in comfortable silence, watching the play of moonlight on the water. The vastness of the lake, stretching out to the distant, hazy hills, evoked a sense of both grandeur and tranquility, mirroring the expansive nature of the truths they were beginning to grasp. Jesus, his gaze fixed on the horizon, seemed to be communing with the very essence of the night, his presence radiating a profound peace that enveloped them all. Simon Peter, ever the fisherman, felt a deep connection to the sea, its rhythms and mysteries, and now, seeing it through the lens of Jesus' teachings, it seemed imbued with a new, sacred significance. He imagined the vast depths beneath the surface, teeming with life, a hidden world mirroring the hidden depths of God's grace. He thought of the nets he had cast countless times, the mundane act of fishing, and wondered how even that, in the light of Jesus, might be transformed into something more, something imbued with divine purpose. John, the youngest of the group, leaned back on his hands, his eyes tracing the path of the moon on the water, his heart filled with a quiet reverence. He recalled the joy on the faces of the wedding guests, the sheer delight at the unexpected abundance of the wine, and he understood that this joy was a foretaste of the greater joy that Jesus promised, a joy that would flow like an unending river, refreshing and renewing all who drank from it. He felt a deep sense of belonging, a profound connection to this man who spoke of God with such intimacy, who revealed the sacred in the ordinary, and who, with a simple word, could transform the very elements of creation. As the night deepened, and the stars became more numerous, each one a tiny beacon of light in the vast cosmic ocean, Jesus turned to his disciples, his voice a gentle murmur that carried clearly across the quiet shore. "The signs you have witnessed," he said, his gaze sweeping across each of their faces, "are but glimpses, small windows into the boundless glory of the Father, a glory that seeks to illuminate every corner of creation, bringing forth life and abundance where there was once scarcity and despair." He spoke of the journey ahead, a journey that would be filled with challenges and triumphs, with moments of profound understanding and periods of quiet contemplation, but always, always, guided by the unwavering light of divine love. He reminded them that the miracle at Cana was not an isolated event, but the first note in a symphony of transformation, a prelude to a grander narrative that would unfold through their lives, through their words, and through their actions. They were to be the vessels through which this new wine, this abundant grace, would flow into the world, bringing healing to the sick, comfort to the sorrowful, and hope to the despairing. The responsibility weighed heavily, yet also filled them with an exhilarating sense of purpose, a profound understanding that they were part of something far greater than themselves, something truly extraordinary. The gentle breeze off the lake stirred the leaves of the nearby reeds, creating a soft, whispering sound that seemed to echo Jesus' words, a lullaby of promise and potential. The disciples, gathered around him, felt a profound sense of peace settle over them, a quiet assurance that, even in the face of the unknown, they were being led by a hand that was both strong and infinitely tender. The stars above them, countless and shimmering, seemed to reflect the countless possibilities that now lay before them, each twinkling with the promise of new beginnings, of deeper understanding, and of the profound, gentle unfolding of a divine plan that embraced all of creation, a plan that had just begun to reveal its glorious tapestry. The soft murmur of the evening faded into the quiet hum of the night, leaving behind the lingering scent of roasted lamb and sweet wine, a testament to the day's joyous celebration. As the last embers of the communal fires began to dim, casting long, dancing shadows across the dusty ground, Mary found herself drawn to a secluded corner of the courtyard, where the gentle glow of a single oil lamp illuminated a small, weathered wooden bench. She sat, her hands clasped loosely in her lap, her gaze drifting towards the distant silhouette of the Galilean hills, their peaks softened by the moon's ethereal light. A profound sense of anticipation, subtle yet undeniable, stirred within her, a feeling she had carried, like a precious, hidden jewel, since the very first whisper of an angel's voice so many years ago. Jesus, sensing her quiet contemplation, approached with a serene grace, his footsteps barely disturbing the fallen olive leaves scattered across the flagstones. He settled beside her, the familiar warmth of his presence a comforting anchor in the vast expanse of the night. For a long moment, they simply sat in comfortable silence, a silent dialogue passing between them, woven from years of shared understanding and unspoken affection. The air grew cooler, carrying the faint, sweet perfume of jasmine from a nearby trellis, and a lone cricket chirped a rhythmic lullaby from the shadows. Mary finally turned to him, her eyes, deep pools of wisdom and love, reflecting the lamp's soft light. "The wine, my son," she began, her voice a gentle whisper, "it is running low, and the celebration, it feels as though it has only just begun." She spoke not with urgency, but with a quiet conviction, a mother's subtle prompting, knowing the depth of his compassion and his capacity for grace. Jesus met her gaze with an understanding that transcended words, a knowing glance that acknowledged the delicate balance of social custom and the unspoken needs of the young couple whose joyous occasion was at risk of an early, somber end. He understood the profound embarrassment that would befall the bridegroom's family should their hospitality fall short, a stain on their honor that would linger long after the last guest departed. He rose slowly, his movements deliberate and unhurried, and walked towards the bustling periphery of the celebration, where servants, their faces etched with the weariness of long hours, moved with practiced efficiency. The air there was thick with the aroma of spices and the low murmur of conversation, a stark contrast to the quiet intimacy he had just shared with his mother. He observed the large stone jars, 6 of them, standing sentinel-like near the entrance to the feasting hall, each one capable of holding 20 to 30 gallons, typically used for the ritual purification of hands and vessels, a common sight in every Jewish household. These jars, rough-hewn and ancient, bore the marks of countless generations, their surfaces smooth from years of use, their purpose deeply ingrained in the daily life of the community. The flickering torches cast their shadows long and distorted, making the jars appear almost monumental, silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. Nathaniel, who had been quietly observing the scene from a shadowed archway, felt a peculiar stirring within his heart, a sense of impending wonder that tightened his chest. He had seen Jesus perform no miracles yet, but there was an undeniable authority in his bearing, a quiet power that resonated deeply within Nathaniel's soul, hinting at something truly divine about to unfold, something that would forever alter the course of their lives and the very fabric of the world. He watched, his breath held in silent anticipation, as Jesus approached the servants, ready to witness the quiet unfolding of a glory he had only just begun to comprehend. That is where we leave our story tonight. These moments of quiet are yours, you have earned them. If easy drift sleep has become part of your night, subscribing keeps us close. Sweet dreams and rest well.